Åh, Mia! Åh, Mia! Hvad så mere? Skal vi lige, vi har kaffe, vi har smug, køle, af. Ja, det har jeg. Det har jeg. Virkelig godt, virkelig godt, virkelig godt. Hvad med dig, Mia? Har du sovet godt, eller har du sovet af helvedes til, som du plejer? Jeg vil næsten ikke op, fam. Jeg vil næsten ikke op. Det var ret utroligt. Nu så vi her med min kaffe. This is of the programmer. Har du så godt mere? Det er spørgsmålet.
Move left, Boomer. Stop flashbanging our team.
I thought that was healing spray.
Fuck. Bruh, this is not Fortnite.
Gotcha.
You think
Okay, det er altid noget mere, det er altid noget.
It's 2 a.m. already.
I was top fragging dad.
Bruh just got prestige slapped.
Oh man, cruelty everywhere.
The fuck? Now go to bed before I break all of your phones.
Okay. The next day.
Is that mental or trendy?
Neither. It's pajama day, ladies. You ever get slapped so hard by your dad, your philosophy resets? That's what happened to me. Life stopped being serious and started being whatever the hell this is.
You woke up. I thought you'd be dead after a tight slap.
No. I woke up and chose
Nå, jeg skal
comfort.
nysgerrigsbehandle,
This
fam.
is me now. Soft. Wrinkled. Judged.
Kommer lige om lidt, skal lige sige noget til min mor. Nej, jeg siger det senere. Okay, du har spist mormad, det er godt, Mia. Hvad fik du at spise?
banana on your ass.
Thanks. That's when I realized life's falling apart. Good. That means it's finally flexible. Time to glue it back with jokes, pajamas, and zero shame.
Bro, you dressed like it's Sunday cartoons, not Monday capitalism.
You seem like a fancy dance participant.
Whoa, Jack, are you okay or are you podcasting your downfall in real time?
Your cheap tricks won't work on me now.
Okay,
I'm
lækkert,
fabulous.
lækkert.
Thanks for asking. I do depression with style now.
You're sabotaging yourself. Nobody takes you seriously dressed like a C-grade mascot.
Okay.
Good. Life's a comedy. I'm just making sure the laugh track's working.
Everyone shut up. Emergency meeting. Big client. Big deal. Act like adults. Whoa, Jack, will you attend the meeting in this shit?
Yes. If anything goes wrong, cut 80% from my salary.
Det er godt, Mia, det er godt.
Hey folks, I'm Justin, founder of Zenver. We gamify breathing.
We are so honored.
Our team's ready to impress.
Is that a pajama fit?
Yeah. I prefer comfort over flex.
Whoa, Jack, talk like a professional, you dumb fuck.
But boss, if my outfit bothers him, maybe his business model's not strong enough.
Oh no!
We'll lose the deal for this knucklehead.
Dude, I love this guy. He's real. Everyone else looks like they're dressed for a funeral.
He likes him? This is unfair.
No way this loser gets recognition instead of us.
Let's work together. But only if Pajama Man's on my team.
And what will I wear?
You can wear bra and panties.
All right, everyone, just obey his order.
5 months later.
This guy? He reminded us life's a joke, and we're the punchline.
I can't believe someone is admiring Wojak.
Cheers.
Bro,
Cheers.
you're literally the pajama prophet now.
I bought bunny slippers because of you. My dad disowned me, but whatever.
That's the thing, fellas. I didn't win by working harder. I won by giving fewer shits than corporate HR. Low budget Voldemort just spawned.
Congratulations, you piece of trash. You fooled the world with your clown act.
Thanks, man. I try.
But did you read the fine print of your contract?
Juni. Lidt underholdning. Ja, mere. Lige om lidt, 2 sekunder. Skal lige se. Tjekke færdig. Lige læse færdig. Yes. Bakken on top. Nå, skal vi se, hvad du har sendt mere.
I don't say anything.
What the Sigma?
Oh shit.
Hey, push off, bucko, push off, bucko, push off, bucko. What you bro? Where's the rest of my food?
And did y'all get my knuckle? My knuckle sandwich? Try!
This my baby. Drip too hard. Uggs. Carhartt.
Sej baby.
It's scientifically proven that your brain won't let you stub your own toe. See?
Hi. Oh, you're so big boy. How you're so cute. What's your name? What's your name? Oh, hi. Vino Moose. Oh, hi, Vino Moose.
Thinks it's so attractive when a guy is super hungry and is shoveling in food to the.
As long as it's not like blue or pink.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda from the Houston Zoo. Good, and this is Jonah.
I love you. So cute. I love you too, Egg.
So my personal philosophy of rehabilitation.
Unpopular opinion. Stop telling women on the internet how beautiful they are and go say it to your wife.
Hey, babe, just want to let you know that women on the internet are beautiful.
Oh. Just give me my money!
Hocus pocus, there's pizza on your focus.
I don't know about your 20s. I don't know what you did in your 20s, but my 20s have been like this crazy roller coaster.
Is that what that is? Now that. Whoa! Whoa! What in the tarnation?
Thank you.
No, get the almond milk.
Now y'all trying to conspiracy.
No.
And it's the question. Is it from the almond of the walnut? Is they squeezing it out of the peanut?
I don't have that answer, and I usually have every answer.
Right, so let's just stop and analyse what's just happened there.
Why do you think you're the baddest?
People tell me I am, and I believe it.
A lot of liars nowadays. You look a bit young to be a rapper. Shouldn't you be sitting here with us?
Man, so I want to get him in the back of the truck, get a set of vitals. Electricity is not something you want to play around with.
Sir, what's your social security number? Sir?
Okay, buddy.
Open the door or I'm gonna throw rocks through your windows.
It's gonna be a very good fight for me.
But then you say Leon, but then he's got
who this guy? He don't have question. He don't just listen to us.
Yeah. Do you love her?
Yes.
Are you willing to do whatever it takes to stay with her?
Nah.
Victor.
Really had no idea what's behind him. Oh, you. Oh.
Excuse me.
No. Oh my God, young man.
Get out already. Get out! Oh no. Everybody stop! Listen! Get out! Oh no. Now that is not how you make a fry.
Already playing games with me. She was
It's interesting that in your songs, you're still the outsider. With all the success.
Yeah,
And what can I do for you three gentlemen? Carl, I like my dog bark.
Carl's Jr.
When you're sounding crazy, watch this. I'll do a real one.
First time. It looks like carrots.
Name me a country that's never been colonized.
And what did you say?
Country that's never been colonized.
Yellow?
What would you like for the day?
For the whole day?
Yeah.
I'd like some peace and quiet.
No, we don't tell that.
I could not be happier. Sitting on my floor eating kimchi fries. Like, I just love food.
We love you. Have a good time at college. We'll miss you. Bye.
Det er min måned, eller hvad?
awesome.
We can't laugh. We should. You want to make a wager? Let's bet.
Lamar, I love your team,
That had some smoke on it. The last time, I don't look nothing like no tow truck.
That is potentially the best egg I have ever. Oh,
nej. Så tæt på.
fuming.
Jeg var ikke klar. Jeg var ikke klar.
Do you have a question?
Okay, bro, hvis der redder den. Var det ikke?
Oh no.
This is really happening. There's a goat. Why is there a goat? Hi. Hey, buddy. Are you a nice goat? I don't have food, goat. Oh my God! There's a llama.
En
What is
lama.
going on?
What'd you make for me?
Toast?
Okay.
Han prøvede. Han prøvede. Ah!
$100. Listen to me. Stop. Let's go.
Slemme Mia.
Dated in real life.
Hey, baby.
Slemme Mia. Jeg ved ikke, om det var Trailer altid laugh eller en gyservideo, der så æderkoppen, men sæt på mere. Jeg vandt den her gang. Sæt dig ned, eller læg dig ned. Jo, jeg fik delt den. Nice. Skal I sige rivmok?
Hvad så alle sammen? Det er tid til en mukbang igen. De har lavet mange mukbangs på
Vi laver dem hele tiden.
Jamen det er net, som du selv siger. Og folk elsker dem, så. Så nu skal vi altså have...
Hvad har vi?
Jeg har en quarter pounder, selvfølgelig. Det sidste. Og du har...
Jeg har 3.
3 burger.
Skal vi, når der først er i en måned, så er der jo... Den tager vi op i hovedet. Så er det varmt nu. Så er der brød.
Mia, du skal have Discord, og sådan er det.
Hvad skulle det sige?
Oh my god.
Har du måned din første før?
Nej, jeg har først den der måned.
Ja,
Så er det gratis på mærken.
Nå, det er det. Pointmæssigt eller bare appen?
På appen, så er der sådan en tillykke plus, ikke? Så får man gratis med. Eller et eller andet.
Og den skal vi bruge ind i går. Jeg mener, den skal vi bruge ind i morgen, måske.
Ja.
Okay.
Så er det samme måned.
Jeg ved ikke, hvad jeg prøver at sige først. Shit.
Nå.
Ja, så der ruller det igen. Vi
det her er bedre end Max. Pomfrit med.
Ja, pomfritter er bedre end Max. McDonald's pomfritter er bedre end Max pomfritter.
Mhm.
Du kan købe det. Du vil Max.
Ja.
Men vi skal have spaghetti med kødsovs i dag. Fordi vi nu skal spise meget fast food, så vi vil have noget rigtig noget senere. Men det optager vi ikke.
Nej. Der er ikke noget for det, ja.
For det er både og lørdag. Nej, ikke endnu. Jeg føler også, at det er lidt træt at lave det.
Ja.
Det er mere, hvis det er noget
Ja, der er jo...
Det var en Asbjørn-ting.
Ja, mere.
Ja. Vi havde for det, ja.
Ja.
Og det er morgen og mandag.
Men jeg drikker så meget monster mere, så hvad kan vi gøre?
Ja.
Altså, jeg drikker ikke længere gul. Jeg drikker ikke rigtig monster.
Nej, det er meget sjældent.
Ikke mere morgen og mandag.
Forandring klæder os.
Det er i orden mere. Du har sikkert ikke set den færdig.
Jeg skal sammen med omvendt i morgen. 1. maj. Kong hygge. 1. maj 2025.
Det er varme. Ja, sidste 1. maj, der var jeg på anlægget.
Ja. Måske næste år, bro. Måske næste år. Det kommer med.
Ja. Jeg har også sygt, fordi så går jeg ikke så fint. Jeg snakker ikke med så meget med dem, fordi vi så kun en gang.
Også fordi, det er ikke alle, der kan holde kontakten så meget, som jeg kan. Jeg er jo god til det. Men det er ikke alle, der er gode til, at det vil blive virkelig til.
Det er heller ikke alle, man hører fra kontaktmæssigt.
Nej, det er rigtigt. Det skal også være gensidigt.
Ja.
Men så skal man lade mig sige nej til alle, man skal holde kontakten, men det gør man altså ikke. Det kan man ikke.
Nej, det kan man ikke.
Det kan man ikke.
Ja, så vil jeg kende over 2 mennesker lige nu.
Også mig.
Det gør man ikke. Det gør man ikke, så vil jeg også kende over 1000.
Også mig.
Ja. Gør man ikke.
I foråret var det ikke som Asbjørn, så var Asbjørn Stiv, og jeg var Jan.
Ja.
Altså, jeg føler, at du også, du ved, det er også til at adapte os.
Ja, mere, jeg ved det.
Altså, mukbang føler jeg er bedre at lave. Men er du ikke så mange
Nå, jeg har lige trøje. Det er koldt.
Og hvis du, nu er jeg jo lavet mukbang med en anden, ikke? Det kan man jo godt.
Ja.
Og der mukbang med Brovin og Patrick. Ja. Men jeg synes, mukbang kommer aldrig her. Det er altid på main. Synes jeg, fordi det er nice.
Ja. Det er til fugle.
Vi skal også have mad. For helvede. Ja, det må stå ud. Jeg synes, Norden i huset. Helt. Nå ja. Det er ikke det, jeg kan huske. Ikke huske.
Hvad er det egentlig?
Det er quarterpounder. Jeg har fundet ud af, at det her det er bare den perfekte menu du ved, til frokost. Ikke for meget mad, ikke for lidt mad. Du ved, også fordi en big tasty burger, det kunne man sige rigtig sulten. Rigtig sulten. Du ved, rigtig sulten. Og den smager også bedre end den her, ikke? Men den her smager godt nok, og den mætter ikke for meget. Og så en dobbelt big tasty, det kan jeg ikke spise, men det er for meget af. Hvis jeg skal have fritter og det der. Man går på quarterpounder, hvis jeg kører det.
Ja, Mia.
komme sådan noget.
En kornhold om noget. Jeg kunne ikke lige huske, hvad det hedder, hvad det sagde.
En eller anden spise.
Hvad er det? Nogle 3 burger, du skal spise.
En flaying.
Hvad er det? Cheese?
Ja. Nej. Jo.
Hvad er full cheese?
Nej. Der er dyr.
Ja, de får ikke en cola.
Nøj, der er creme.
Jeg skulle lidt derude. Og så henter jeg lige det der. En smag. Der har lige været sidste uge, var der kommet fan talk, som vi skal se. Og vi er faktisk jo klar til 14. juni. Så det her det er faktisk ugen efter. Så ja, ved du hvad, altså, det er faktisk ret, synes jeg er fedt. Så vi skal så stresse om det på dag. Så er der ordnet. Og så kan jeg sige, ja, de kan følge med. Det er optaget, det er optaget 30. april. Vi er ikke engang i maj endnu. Vi er on the grind. Det er altså også ment, fordi vi skal så ud og rejse hver vores, ikke? Men du skal rejse i august, og vi skal rejse i august, Patrick skal rejse i juli.
Ja.
Jeg skal rejse i september, hvor man skal ud og rejse. Han bliver i Danmark.
Nå, en tasty, det er rigtigt. Jeg har to et eller andet. Og så en tasty.
Tasty cheese. Så skal de tjekke, hvorfor noget rivmok der skal komme bagefter. Shit.
Jeg tager så.
Det var den lige. Fik 6.
Fik 6.
Vi skal have den til 100 special, mig og Asmus.
Altså, hvad der...
Og det er super...
2 tilbage.
Vi skal have den 100 special, det er meget vigtigt. Det er meget vigtigt, at vi får lavet den 100 special, mig og Asmus. Så vi har gjort det. Så må den komme efter Vietnam, tror jeg. Det er mærkeligt, at Batman og Batgirl har været sammen. Jeg så sådan en video om det her i går, ikke? Var sådan, shit. Batman var en gammel groomer. Nå.
You caught yourself sympathizing with Joe Goldberg while you were watching You, didn't you? If you did, then that means the writers of the show did their jobs well. Because as we watch throughout the show, we see it from his perspective, with his narration attempting to justify the things he's doing. And he's not just trying to convince himself, he's trying to convince us too. A lot of the time it works, as many people even idolize Joe when he is the villain of his own story. He has a traumatic childhood that the show fed us scraps of. We know he killed his abusive father to protect his mother, after which his mother abandoned him and started...
Det er fordi min humor, fuck, det er ikke nogen gange griner jeg bare... Folk folk beskriver som om, hvad det de mener, det er det samme, men jeg ser noget andet, for eksempel, ikke? Du ved. Men det er det samme, hvis nogen fortæller for eksempel samme joke, men på en anden måde, ikke? Så synes jeg måske, på den ene er sjov. Den er udtalt mørkeste sjov, synes jeg. Oh yeah, Joe Goldberg.
By all means necessary. It's about a man feeling inadequate with himself and searching for someone he can mold into his own perfect fantasy to try to accept who he is. He does terrible things as the audience watches, but the majority of people who watch don't hate him because he wasn't written to be hated. He was written to charm the audience, the same way he charms his own victims. In this video, we will view the way Joe evolves from the very first season when the mask is secure to the final season where that same mask has long since fallen. In season 1, Joe already had violent and obsessive tendencies that he justified for love. There's the mystery of the entire season of what happened to Candace, and it's heavily implied that Joe killed her and made it look like she just disappeared. But as we find out in season 2, she survived. We're going to
ser den bagefter, Mia. Vi ser den bagefter.
Season 1 than when we look at the other seasons because we are primarily analyzing Joe as a character. Whenever Joe encounters Guinevere Beck for the first time, who will later haunt the narrative for the rest of the series, he begins doing what he does best at making assumptions about Beck and crafting his own version of her in his head, all because she made a few literature references and mildly flirted with him. His own perfect fantasy that's going to disappoint him. He thought that by stalking Beck that he would know her, but it wasn't really her. It was what he wanted her to be. He would watch Beck from a window on several occasions, even, Anyways, Joe inserts himself while watching Beck whenever she's drunk and falls onto the train tracks, and he gets her a cab home. While they're in the cab, she's vulnerable. Joe takes her cell phone so that he can watch what she's doing and learn more about her. Not at all socially acceptable. He also breaks in her apartment to learn more about her, and he takes some creepy souvenirs such as when Joe and her first meet, Beck is dating a guy named Benji, a trust fund baby and want-to-be entrepreneur. He is just enough of a douchebag for Joe to want to take him out of the picture, so Joe pretends to be someone interested in Benji's soda business and then traps him in his glass cage in the basement of the bookstore, and then puts peanut oil in Benji's coffee later on, killing him by allergic reaction, and burns his body. But before Joe made his decision, he seemed to be opposed to killing a man, which is interesting because we find out later that this isn't the first time that he's killed someone. He killed his father, and he killed Elijah after discovering Candace was cheating on him. During season 1, Joe does a good job at hiding his dark tendencies. However, Peach sees right through it, and also sees Joe as an opponent once he starts dating Beck because she herself is also obsessed with Beck. Peach sees right through Joe, and I always like it when a movie or TV show has a character like this that sees something off about the main character. It keeps me on my toes and wondering what's coming next. Peach
Okay, fair enough.
Paris, and Joe sees Peach as another obstacle the same way that Benji was. Joe kills Peach and makes it look like a suicide, doing whatever it takes for quote-unquote love. After this, there are ups and downs in Joe and Beck's relationship, and eventually they break up, and Joe gets with Karen for a short time. Joe was actually acting like a normal guy until he cheats on Karen with Beck, and then they get back together. Then Joe suspects that Beck is cheating on him with her therapist, Dr. Nikki, and it turns out she really was. Joe and Beck were able to move past this until Paco tells Beck that Joe told him the ceiling tiles are a good place to hide stuff, which I understand why he said this to Paco, but still, it's so suspicious. Beck looks in the ceiling tile of the bathroom and finds Joe's serial killer box of trophies and memoir. After this, Joe throws her in the cage and eventually kills her by strangulation. Joe finishes Beck's book and publishes it, framing Dr. Nikki as her killer. Joe did a lot of bad stuff already in only season 1, and it's only going to get worse as we go on. To summarize season 1 Joe, he tries to justify his actions that he seems to genuinely think are okay. From the beginning, it's obvious that he's an obsessive, stalking sociopath, and this season, Joe is still trying to mask his evil from the characters in a cast that he picked. But we see his thoughts. We know that he's bad, but we still enjoy watching him because he's justifying his actions through all his narration to himself and to us. And we get invested in what Joe is doing. That doesn't mean we're wrong for doing so, because it's impossible to not feel some sort of attachment to the main character. We know he's wrong, and we know he's a bad guy, or at least I hope everyone who watched knew from the beginning, but we still feel that attachment. Season 1 ends off on a cliffhanger, because to Joe's surprise, Candace is still alive, and she wants revenge. Season 2 is interesting to me because at some points it feels like Joe wants to turn over a new leaf and to be better. Or at least he says he does, but this is only because of his new obsession and my favorite character from the series, Love Quinn. New season, new scenery, new love interest. Joe's now in LA under the identity of Will Bettelheim, who is the man who was going to get Joe a new identity, but then he ended up locking Will in his cage instead. And for the first and only time,
Hvor lang er den video?
who gets locked in Joe's
16 minutter. 11 minutter
in
tilbage.
later seasons, we see Joe and Will are still in touch. This is an interesting interesting addition to Joe's choices because
Hvor lang er
it makes
din
the
video,
viewer
Mia?
feel like Joe really is ready to change and be a better man for love. The entire season is pretty much a game of cat and mouse between Candace and Joe. Joe keeps it together pretty well this season, only killing Jasper, who is implied to be some sort of Russian mob boss, and Henderson, who is a predator. And let's be real, Joe killing a predator is nowhere near as bad as his actions in season 1. So we as the viewer were led to believe maybe Joe is actually turning over a new leaf. Joe did still have his stalking and obsessive tendencies this season, but nonetheless, he didn't do anything worse than he already has. I'm not going to go super in depth on the details of this season, as the purpose of this video is to look at the meaning of the story as a whole and the mental deterioration of Joe Goldberg. But there is one scene in particular I'd like to talk about.
Okay,
and
så
that's
kan vi godt lige
whenever
se den
Wes-
først. Så kan vi godt lige se den først.
Ding dong. Hej. Jeg skal have 3 pizzaer med hjem. Ja, så gerne. En indbagt calzone. Calzone er indbagt? Ja, det skal være en indbagt calzone. Calzone er indbagt? Præcis, en indbagt calzone. Calzone er indbagt? Jeg vil gerne have den indbagt. Calzone er indbagt? Du kan slet ikke få en calzone, der ikke er indbagt. Det var da en hulens masse snak, eftersom jeg jo vil have den indbagt. Så vil du have en calzone eller en indbagt?
Det er det samme.
Indbagt calzone. Altså en indbagt calzone.
Han sagde det bare finere.
Den skal være indbagt. I en calzone. Indbagt calzone. En indbagt calzone, der er indbagt i en calzone. Ja. Sådan. Og pizza nummer 2? Pizza nummer 2 skal være en Vesuvio uden ananas. Vesuvio er uden ananas? Ja, den skal være uden ananas. Vesuvio er uden ananas? Jeg vil gerne have den uden ananas. Der er ingen ananas. Jeg vil ikke have nogen ananas. Der er ikke nogen ananas, du kan sidde og pille af. Jeg skal ikke sidde og pille nogen skide ananas af, for der skal ikke være nogen skide ananas, jeg kan
Nu
sidde
hører han ikke efter.
Der er slet ikke nogen skide ananas, du kan sidde og pille af, for har der været det, så har der været en Hawaii. Og pizza nummer 3. Ja. En Hawaii. Med ananas. En Hawaii er med ananas. Jeg vil gerne have den med ananas. Så kan du tage ananasen fra Vesuvio. Nej, jeg vil ikke have nogen andens ananas. Jeg vil, ved du hvad, glem det, stryg det. Vi tager en stor familiepizza i stedet for. Så gerne. Skal jeg skære den i 6 eller i 12 stykker? Ja, hvad tror du selv? Bare 6 stykker. Vi kan jo ikke spise 12, vel?
Jo.
Hvornår er den færdig? Vi er lukket!
Okay, det var sjovt, mere. Det var sjovt. Det var fucking sjovt. Vi er lukket!
Brother 40 slips Joe LSD to help both of them work on the script and really tap into their creative tendencies. And 40 ends up dissecting Beck's book and figuring out the entire events of season 1. He was so geeked that he solved the entire case. But anyways, back to it. At one point, towards the end of the story, Joe finds Delilah, his landlord/sneaky link, dead in his cage. And he doesn't remember killing her, so it's a mystery sequence while Joe is tripping trying to find out what happened to Delilah. In the finale, whenever Candace tries to expose who Joe really is to Love, Joe seemed to accept his fate and take accountability for his crimes. But Love kills Candace and reveals that she was the one who killed Delilah because she loved Joe. I feel like this single scene reversed all of Joe's progress in this season because in the following season he acts exactly the same. But either way, I was losing my mind when the reveal came to who Love really was. I loved season 2 because of her, and it introduced me to my celebrity crush. But anywho, Joe was going to kill Love, which was insane because she showed him the same obsession that he showed. But then she reveals that she's pregnant with their child, so Joe doesn't kill Love and actually marries her, and they move to a quiet town called Madre Linda to raise their child. Joe's got everything he ever wanted: a wife, a child, a quiet life. But no, in the final episode it shows Joe stalking and obsessing over his neighbor, Natalie, because Joe can't change his ways because the point of what the show is trying to show us is not love. It's Joe's obsession and entitlement to women. Joe is just a misogynistic man pretending to be a romantic intellect. On my first watch of the show, season 3 was at the bottom of my ranking, but revisiting it, I can't help but love it. It's a slower season, but it does a good job of putting you in the world and making you feel like you're there. This season, Joe is obsessed with not only one, but 2 women. First, Natalie Angel,
Men så Victor, velkommen til.
then Marianne, who Love was planning to kill in the season finale but changed her mind and decided to attempt to kill Joe. Marianne is also one of the only ones to see through Joe's charming act and run when she found out what Joe was. This season is another one of Joe's calmer arcs, and the focus is mostly on Love since it's her last season, and I think that may be what made me favor it. Just because it was a calmer season for Joe doesn't mean he's good by any means necessary. He still stalks Natalie and Marianne, cheats on his wife, helps his wife hide bodies, practically hunts Carrie and Sherry, and then locks them in the cage in the basement of the bakery. Joe also kills Ryan for Marianne so that she can get custody of her daughter, kills his wife, and abandons his son so that he can chase Marianne to Paris. He did all of these things with no problem, but Joe's mental state in this season was an interesting one to me because he's going through a victim complex of having a problem with these misdeeds when they involve Love and treating her like a psychopath when she kills for him, but has no problem when he kills for Marianne. And this is because Love isn't a damsel in distress like the fantasy Joe wants. Love is impulsive and doesn't need to be saved. Unlike Joe, Love embraces and accepts who she is instead of trying to mask it. Towards the end of the season, when Theo finds Sherry and Carrie locked in the basement of the bakery and Love realizes she can't let him leave, she hits him in the head with a fire extinguisher, wounding him, and Joe finds him and actually saves him. I felt like this showed a glimmer of hope in Joe, that he saved him when he could have just let him die. That's the thing about the way Joe's character is written. He does just enough things that are good-natured that it makes us question him morally. In Season 1, that was Joe looking out for Paco. In Season 2, he looked out for Ellie. Some may think he does it out of a good place, but I think that's the point, to trick us into seeing something more than a murderous sociopath to his character. I think in actuality, the real reason he does these things is to convince himself that he is a good person, and does the things he does because he has to. But that's not at all the case. He could have settled down with Love and his son, but he didn't. He wanted to continue doing what he has always done. By the end of Season 3, he is still trying to convince himself he is good. But what happens when he stops trying to convince himself? We start Season 4 in a new place, being Paris, which I've noticed is a common theme for every season of the show. New location, new obsession, new characters. And Joe under a new identity, Professor Jonathan Moore. I really enjoyed the whole whodidit murder mystery vibe the season had, and then the plot twist that Joe was the Eat the Rich killer, and the whole time he was trying to figure out who was sending him clues and ominous text messages, only for it to turn out to be in his head. And he was
Darwin,
at this point in the series, Joe is at an all-time low mentally. He's literally disassociating and hallucinating the entire season.
Darwin.
Finally began portraying him as the monster he's been the whole time. Joe, as Jonathan Moore, lets Marianne go when he realizes she wants nothing to do with him and befriends a group of higher-up rich people. But as we know from the plot twist later on in the season, he has a split personality, and this personality is pretty much all of Joe's negative qualities. It's his dark side in the form of Reese Montrose. It turned out Joe didn't let Marianne go. He locked her in a cage, and he had been slowly picking people off in his new friend group. The main focus of the season is on the mystery and Joe's growing insanity, but he does have
Den serie om karakterer, jeg ser.
Who by the end of the season he ends up marrying. Joe did do some of the worst things yet in the season, and he didn't even know it. But just because he didn't know it doesn't mean it wasn't there. That was just the true him. Once he realizes what's going on with him, he teams up with the hallucination of his dark side, Reese, and kills Kate's father, who, to be fair, deserved it. I mean, the guy probably killed more people indirectly than Joe did. For the main staple of Joe's mental health this season, he confronts his dark side and seems to truly want to leave his past behind and die a changed man, and attempts to do what he thinks best and throw himself off a bridge so he doesn't hurt any more people, but he is unfortunately rescued. Quick side note about Kate. She had a past of doing messed up stuff while working for her father, doing a business deal that gave several children cancer. In the ending scene, Kate and Joe tell each other that they will leave their dark sides behind and hold each other accountable moving forward. And this season, Joe gets a happy ending, which he didn't deserve. Kate scrubs his record clean. He's got all the money in the world he can ask for. He takes his son back from Dante. He's in a position where he has a final chance to change moving forward and leave it all behind. One last fresh start. But of course, this isn't going to happen because he's shown time and time again that he doesn't really want to change. It's actually the opposite. To me, he seems to have a deep hidden desire to want to be worse. By Season 5, the final season, Joe has completely lost any morals he may have had in previous seasons. He is married to Kate and is heavily under the eye of the public as a celebrity, and people love him and view him as a perfect man. He's the media's golden boy. In this season, Kate actually asks Joe to kill Uncle Bob because he was a liability and was feeding reporters scraps of information about Kate giving kids cancer. Joe kills him and makes it look like a suicide with no questions asked, like he had been waiting for it, and after, he seems eager to kill again. There's also a less important storyline of Joe living out his fantasies of killing people through his writing, which I feel like is worth mentioning. Due to Reagan wanting to take over the Lockwood Company, Joe attempts to capture her, but mistakenly captures her twin sister Maddie. And to solve this problem, he decides to then capture the real Reagan, throw her in the cage with Maddie, and tell Reagan that to be released, she'll have to kill her own twin sister. Joe does this because he has to have something on Maddie to let her out. But still, that is beyond morally questionable because it's a problem that he created out of his urges to kill someone for convenience. parents. To me, his dialogue doesn't even seem to be troubled about it. He seems more mildly inconvenienced, like any other day-to-day problem. He becomes obsessed with Bronte, who, unbeknownst to Joe, is actually a former friend of Beck's looking to bring him down. He kills Clayton in front of several people and on camera, thinking he is protecting Bronte from an abusive ex-boyfriend. Now the media is torn between accusing Joe of his past deeds and rumors about him being true, and the other half believes it was in self-defense. And then another fraction of people not caring either way and idolizing his actions in the name of quote-unquote love. Joe does several things to try to win the public over, such as going on a live stream to gain sympathy. But none of that matters, because in his final showdown with Kate, Nadia, and Marianne, Joe admits on a voice note several of his crimes, and it is sent to the law enforcement. By the end of the season, Joe thinks he is running away with Bronte to live happily ever after and avoid incarceration, and he is still playing the victim and trying to act misunderstood when at this point in the story, it's blatantly obvious who he really is. But Bronte is planning on betraying Joe and bringing him down. They squat in an empty house, and Joe is still upholding the mask to Bronte of being in love with her and her being at the center of his universe. But right when things are starting to get intimate, Bronte pulls out a gun on an almost naked Joe, in just his boxers, and she confronts him at gunpoint and demands Joe to tell her how he killed Beck. Joe is still trying to manipulate his way out of the situation, calling his victims crazy and telling Bronte she should be too smart to fall for that. But unluckily for him, Bronte sees him clearly now for who he is. A monster and a sexual predator, if we're being honest. And in the scenes before Joe is arrested, when we aren't hearing Joe's narration, we can see that and see how truly scary he is. Like the sequence whenever Joe is running up from the yard to the house that Bronte is in, it was literal nightmare fuel. But in these scenes, we see the point I've been pushing the entire video. When the narration and the charming dialogue is taken away, he really is just a misogynistic, murdering sociopath that wants to be the author in the lives of his victims and write them the way he fantasizes about them, and then kill them when it doesn't go his way. By the end of the season, we see Joe with the mask completely off. As the viewer, we are no longer blinded by the fantasy of a man who will do anything for love. We're shown the reality of a terrible man. In the end, Joe is sent to prison and reads fan letter smut that was sent to him of women still fantasizing about a man like him. And this shows us that the story wasn't following the crumbling of Joe's mental health. It was about us as the viewer getting charmed by Joe, the same way all of his victims were, even though we saw everything he did. We knew from the very beginning what Joe was, but we still chose to ignore it. This isn't a review video, but I would still like to add the fact that I think the ending of this show and the message it sent was perfect. Not only is he the problem, but idolizing a man like him adds to the problem. And the final scene when he's lying in the prison cell and reading the fan letter while a distorted Creep by Radiohead was playing, it was absolutely incredible in my opinion. I think he got the ending he deserved alone for the rest of his life. Joe Goldberg never actually had a mental decline. That was simply his mask slipping and finally falling off by the end. He didn't change or evolve throughout the entire show. He just chose what to show us, and we believed him. And like I stated in the beginning, he was never written to be hated. He was written to be loved so that he would deceive us too. Joe Goldberg was simply just a sociopath confusing obsession and entitlement for true love.
Vi holdt jo med ham. Jeg holdt jo også med ham.
Finale should have been the way we saw him the entire time.
Skal vi se.
Hey, du kommer lige til tiden. Hvem er han? Jeg siger det, hvis du viser mig pengene. Du skal betale os først. Sig, hvem han er. Det er røvhulsinterialer af GR. Mand med lægen. Sheeple, det er 5 millioner. Hey, vi slår folk ihjel for 1 million. For 5 millioner kan vi opbevare kropsdelene, hvis du vil.
Hvilke dele vil du gerne have, vi sender den med posten?
Det kunne være rigtig godt, hvis de fandt på mere, men ja. Lige til få sekunder, men det er fint nok. Hej Simon, velkommen til. Hey. Mia, Simon skriver til dig. Den kommer ud snart. Glæder mig.
Premier League fixtures 25-26. All right, lah. Who do we get? Bournemouth at home. Well, this is going to be awkward. I can't wait to give you 4 home debuts. 4? But there are only 3 of us, lah. Ta-da! Yes! Liverpool away? Who cares? I'm not even sure I'll have 11 players left by August. Man United away. Easy. What do we want? Second place. When do we want it? Today. Arsenal home. City away. Chelsea home in first 5 games. Only World War III can save my job now. Wolves away. First, I stole their left back to play the inverted 6.5. Inverted 6.5? And now I'll steal the 3 points. It's coming. The Prem is coming home. First game, Man City. Hopefully they'll be banished to League 2 by then. Premier League fixtures? Who cares? It's all about the Europa League. Who will buy a local hero, a number 10 for some pennies? Villa away. Oh, that's a toughie, Alexander.
Jack Grealish er stadig fuld.
Has anyone seen Alexander? Fulham at home. Golden boot, here I come. Brighton away. Boss, can you please stop wearing my headguard? But it's just so cozy. Dear Nuno, we got Brentford. If we don't win, I will march on the pitch and fire you on the spot, you useless piece of shit. Lots of love, Evangelos. Ah, another great show of support from the owner? Yep. West Ham at home. If you say hand or up. Yes, Sunderland. If we can get out of there with a point, happy days. A point? Burnley. Hopefully I will have taught the players some tactics by then. For the last 2 seasons, it appears to have just been vibes. Spurs away. Time to treat myself to a sexy new cardigan. Goal. We got the Palace at home for the first game. What? I said we got Palace at home for the first game. What? Forget it, Cole. Chelsea? Damn. I wanted City. Everton at home. Let's hope I don't lose 15 Premier League games in a row like I did with Norwich. 14 should be doable. Leeds away, Kyle. I'll book you an extra coach so all your kids can come. What? Just a wee bit of Scottish patter there. But when you hit near my daughter, I will fucking kill you. Dead. Okay, boss. Hit like and let me know in the comments which fixture you're looking forward to the most. Adios.
Carlo Ancelotti is going to coach Brazil. Let that sink in. Brazil, the country that breathes football, where the streets light up with samba every time the ball rolls, where winning the World Cup doesn't just bring joy, it actually boosts the economy. That's how deep football runs there. And yet for years, they've been lost. A footballing superpower without a clear identity. A team full of talent, but no direction. Random squads, random managers. At one point, Dani Alves was playing with Richarlison. That's how chaotic things got. But now Brazil meets Ancelotti. In our generation, he might be the best manager after Pep Guardiola. A serial winner. A calm figure on the sidelines. The man with the iconic eyebrow, constantly chewing gum. The guy who just aura farms on the sideline when his team has just made history on the pitch. This is more than just a manager signing. This feels like destiny, a match made in football heaven. Because Brazil has never been about strict tactics or formation. Brazil is about joy. Whether it's a kid playing on the streets or Neymar under the bright lights, Brazilian football is all about love and joy. It's about expression, emotion. The kind of football that feels more like dancing than working. You see it in the way they play, the way they celebrate. Football is a part of who they are. It's not just a job. And Ancelotti, well, he coaches with love. His players don't fear him. They adore him. He's not a dictator. He's a father figure. For many, he's a friend. Someone who builds loyalty and unity in the dressing room. After every big win, his players literally jump on him. Look at him dancing with the Brazilian guys on the bus. This guy's not a dictator. He doesn't run a boot camp. He creates a family. Freedom has always been the tactical motto of Carlo. He doesn't want to micromanage his players. He doesn't want them memorizing formations and positioning as if they're writing an exam. He will give them directions. They will have guidelines. But then Carlo has faith in their ability to make the right decisions on the pitch. In a time where managers want to control every aspect of the game, and there's an obsession over stats, Ancelotti is a breath of fresh air. His teams play fluid football. They're not thinking, oh, I can't go here, my expected goals are low from this position. They just play. And if your team has the talent, Carlo will guide them, just like he did with Real Madrid and AC Milan. That's what makes this so special. Ancelotti's calm meets Brazil's chaos. Structure meets soul. He can bring the discipline to the Brazilian flair without killing it. And now he's been handed a golden opportunity. Take his club success and transform it into national glory. And not just any nation, Brazil, one of the greatest footballing nations of all time. And what's great for Carlo is that he already knows the core of this Brazilian team. Vini, Rodrigo, Militao, all Real Madrid players. In fact, one of the few managers to ever get the best out of Vini is Carlo. Who knows, maybe even Casemiro, one of his most trusted soldiers from back in the day, might even return to the national team. And of course there's Neymar. Yes, he's not a Madrista, and who knows if he can even play. But at his best, he can still bring pure magic. Even a player like Rafinha can cook under Ancelotti. Who doesn't want to have a player who runs non-stop and has the ability to create goals out of nothing? On top of that, knockout competitions are Ancelotti's bread and butter. There is a reason this guy has had so much success in the Champions League. And now he's making the smartest move in modern management. Managing an international team is so much less intensive than club football. You see the players a few times a year, which is perfect for a coach like Ancelotti because he doesn't necessarily need to see the guys week in, week out to transfer his ideas, especially since many of the players on the team have already played under Carlo before, so they know what is required to succeed in his system. He's taking players he already understands and elevating them from club level winners to potential world champions. And if he pulls it off, it would be a moment that would elevate his legacy even more. Now you might be wondering, why would Eyebrow Man need anything more? 5 Champions Leagues, arguably the greatest Real Madrid manager of all time, won a league title in all the top 5 leagues. Does he really need an international trophy? It's a good question, and it's what makes Ancelotti's career so interesting, because for all of his success, he remains one of the most controversial figures in football. Some say he's only won because he's had the best squads, that he rode the coattails of stars like Zidane, Ronaldo, Kaká, and Modric. But others call him one of the greatest managers of all time, a man who has won everywhere, who made history at AC Milan, who brought La Decima to Real Madrid, someone who builds dynasties, not just teams. Well, a big reason for this split in opinion is because there's a pretty massive gap between Ancelotti's league resume and his history in knockout competitions. I mean, the guy has almost as many Champions Leagues as league titles. Now, this doesn't seem that bad. If anything, it looks crazy because who the hell can win 5 Champions Leagues? But when you look at the sheer talent he has had in some of the teams he has managed over the years, how long he has managed for, it is somewhat disappointing that he hasn't won more. His first big managerial job was at Parma. He joined there in the summer of 1996, walking into a club that had become one of Italy's rising giants. Because just a few years earlier, Parma were lifting trophies in Europe and battling with the big boys in Serie A. The team had serious talent. Young stars like Buffon and Fabio Cannavaro were already showing signs of greatness, and the squad had a strong foundation for success. But from the start, Ancelotti made some big changes. He brought with him a strict 4-4-2 formation, one that was inspired by Arrigo Sacchi. It was all about structure and discipline, and in that structure there wasn't much room for flair. He's come a long way since then. Zola, one of Italy's most creative attackers, was forced to play out of position on the wing in that setup. Stoichkov, a legendary forward, also struggled to fit in. Neither could thrive, and eventually both were sold. It was a sign of things to come. Even with those big decisions, Ancelotti's first season actually ended on a high note. Led by Chiesa and Hernan Crespo, Parma finished second in the Serie A, their best ever league finish. It looked like maybe Ancelotti had found the formula, but then came the following season, and the cracks began to show. Parma had the chance to sign Roberto Baggio, a guy who was a magician, but Ancelotti said no. He didn't think a player like Baggio could fit into his system. Years later, he would call that a mistake, but back then, he was convinced the 4-4-2 was the only way to win. That season, naturally, things fell apart. Parma were knocked out in the first round of the Champions League. They made a decent run in the Coppa Italia, but only finished 6th in the league. For a squad with so much quality, it was a massive underachievement. And just like that, Ancelotti was sacked. It was one of the first signs in his career that Ancelotti's biggest strength, his belief in simplicity, could also be his biggest weakness. Well, the next club was Juventus. He joined them in February of 1999. It was another high-pressure job. At Juve, Ancelotti showed that he could adapt. He dropped his 4-4-2 system and gave Zidane the freedom to roam behind the striker. A bold move made in an attempt to allow Zidane to shine. In Europe, they made a solid run to the Champions League semi-finals, only falling to Manchester United, who would go on to win the entire tournament. But in the league, again, things didn't go well. Juve finished 7th in Serie A, far below expectations, and didn't even qualify for next season's Champions League. To make things worse, they lost to Udinese in the UEFA Cup playoffs, and were forced to settle for the Intertoto Cup, a competition seen by many as second-rate. Ancelotti's first full season looked more promising. Juventus actually won that Intertoto Cup right away and looked like strong title contender. But disaster struck near the end. With only 3 games left, Juve were 5 points ahead of Lazio, yet somehow they collapsed, losing the league title by just a single point on the final day. The board wasn't pleased, and the following season the pressure only got worse. Juve crashed out in the Champions League in the first round, and Serie A they once again finished second, this time behind Roma. It just wasn't good enough. And the way Ancelotti's tenure at Juventus ended was brutal. They announced his dismissal during halftime of the final game of the season. Juve were still mathematically in the title race, but the board had seen enough. Ancelotti's time at Juve is remembered as a failure to deliver in the moments that mattered the most. He had world-class talent. He adapted his tactics. And the team did play good football, but when it came to crossing the finish line, they stumbled. Not once, but twice. It cemented a reputation that still follows him today. A manager who can charm players, manage egos, and win big games, but maybe not the best when it came to sustaining dominance over a full season. It wasn't until Carlo Ancelotti took over AC Milan in November of 2001 that his reputation as a manager began to change. His first season wasn't spectacular. Milan finished 4th in the league, but it allowed them to qualify for the Champions League again, which was a crucial step. They also reached the semifinals of the UEFA Cup and the Coppa Italia. It was progress. Nothing flashy, but Ancelotti was laying down a foundation. His second season was something else. Despite heavy criticism from the club owner, Berlusconi, who accused Ancelotti of being too defensive, the Italian was quietly reshaping Milan. He made some pretty bold calls at the time. He trusted Dida, a goalkeeper who was still haunted by past mistakes. He took Andrea Pirlo, a natural attacking midfielder, and turned him into a deep-lying playmaker, a move that would end up redefining Pirlo's entire career. Then with players like Rui Costa, Rivaldo, Inzaghi and Shevchenko leading the line, Milan were both elegant and deadly. And in 2003, they reached the Champions League final, a cagey all-Italian affair against Juventus, and they won it on penalties. That same season, they also lifted the Coppa Italia. Ancelotti followed that up with a domestic masterclass. In 2004, Milan stormed to the Serie A title, finishing with a then record 82 points from 34 games. Kaká had joined by then, bringing flair and pace to a team that was already stacked with talent. Shevchenko finished as the top scorer, and Milan looked unstoppable. But as the success grew, so did the expectations, and with it the pressure. In Europe, Milan began to struggle. Despite winning the UEFA Super Cup in 2003, they were stunned by Deportivo La Coruña in the Champions League, throwing away a 4-1 first-leg lead. Then, of course, came the heartbreak of Istanbul in 2005, a 3-0 lead blown against Liverpool. In the league, Juventus consistently edged Milan to the Scudetto, although most of these titles were later stripped from Juve after the Calciopoli scandal. Still, Milan under Ancelotti just couldn't dominate domestically, so Ancelotti decided to reinvent his system again, introducing the now famous Christmas tree formation. 4-3-2-1 or 4-4-2 diamond, however you want to look at it. The change in formation paid off. In 2007, they got their revenge on Liverpool, a 2-1 win in Athens that gave Ancelotti his second Champions League. That same season, Milan also won the UEFA Super Cup and the Club World Cup, but cracks were starting to show again, especially in the league. Their form dipped. Milan finished 5th and missed out on Champions League football. They were then eliminated early in Europe and the Coppa Italia. The team looked tired, the core was aging, and Ancelotti, a man who always sticks with experience over youth, could not get them to perform again. His final season brought a 3rd place finish, enough to return to the Champions League, but not enough to satisfy Milan's ambition. So on May 31st, 2009, Ancelotti resigned. His time at Milan was undoubtedly a success. I mean, the guy won 2 Champions League titles, a Scudetto, and several cups. But even during the highs, familiar criticisms came up. His tendency to rely on veterans, a reluctance to evolve quickly, and at times inconsistent results. Because he had shown that he can rebuild a team, and he had made Milan European royalty again. But he had also shown that while he could build a team of stars, sometimes he struggled to keep them shining consistently. It was really Ancelotti's 2 tenures at Real Madrid that really elevated his legacy to what it is today. Because as you see, before he joined Madrid in 2014, there were still doubts around him. At Chelsea, he hit the ground running in his first season, delivering a domestic double. It was dominant attacking football, and Ancelotti became the first Italian to win in England's top flight. But after that, things went down. They lost to Liverpool, then were humbled 3-0 at home by Sunderland. Over the next 2 months, Chelsea's form collapsed. They won just one of 9 league games, dropped out of the title race, and slipped down the table. In Europe, Chelsea were knocked out in the Champions League quarterfinals by Manchester United, who exposed their lack of midfield control and defensive sharpness. Even though Ancelotti managed to rally the team late in the season, pushing them back into second place, the damage had been done.
Besser Waldemar, ey.
To Everton, he was sacked. The message was clear. At Chelsea, winning wasn't enough. He had to keep winning. His time at PSG was also an underwhelming tenure. Even though once again he left voluntarily, people had expected so much more. He took over mid-season, and many thought that he would cruise to the league title. Instead, PSG stumbled. Yes, guys, he didn't win Ligue 1 when PSG had money and stars. Then they lost to Lyon in the Coupe de France, and then suffered a surprise defeat to Nancy in the league. When Ancelotti had joined, PSG were in first place, but they ended up blowing their lead and finishing second, 3 points behind Montpellier. For a club that had already spent big and expected dominance, that was a huge disappointment. His first full season went better. PSG won the Ligue 1 title, their first in 19 years, but even then it didn't really feel convincing. The team was inconsistent, and they fell short in all cup competitions, crashing out in the quarterfinals of both the Coupe de France and the Coupe de la Ligue, and then being eliminated by Barcelona on away goals in the Champions League. His time at Bayern was the same. He joined a team that already had been dominating domestically, so they expected him to perform really well in the Champions League. It was supposed to be his best competition, yet Bayern ended up losing 3-0 to Paris Saint-Germain, and as a result, Ancelotti was sacked. The loss wasn't just about the scoreline, it exposed deeper problems behind the scenes. Reports came out that Ancelotti had completely lost the dressing room. 5 of Bayern's senior players had allegedly turned against him, and the club president, Uli Hoeneß, later confirmed it. The trust was gone. At Bayern, a club known for high standards and strong personalities, Ancelotti's calm, hands-off approach just didn't stick. At Real Madrid, though, all of this changed. The freedom he gave his players actually worked here because his style was custom-made for superstars. He's great at managing egos and having faith in his players. Not only did he bring La Decima, but he returned again to Madrid and won the Champions League 2 more times, showing it was no accident. What Ancelotti did was bring unity to a locker room that was divided. In his first tenure, he had to bring everyone together after just experiencing a crazy period under Mourinho. The second time around, he did the same thing. Hence why people joke that Madrid won with the power of friendship. And that's exactly what Brazil needed. A big-name manager who can create a good environment in which the players can play with flair and express themselves, where there's unity. Because while you can criticize Carlo's league resume over the years, his knockout tournament history is very impressive, and that's what Brazil will be competing in. This is a team that has talent, and as we have seen over the years, if you have the quality, Ancelotti will make them even better. Yes, he isn't the right guy for a team like Napoli or Everton, but whenever he's been at a club that had high-quality players, he has succeeded. Now, for Brazil to get to the next level, they need Vini at his best. They need Madrid Vini, not the Vini that we saw in Copa America 2024. And if there's one guy who knows how to get the best out of him, it's Carlo. A man who has consistently developed Ballon d'Or players. To see what a prime Vini looked like under Carlo Ancelotti, you gotta check out this video right here. What a prime Vini looked like under Carlo Ancelotti. From a Ballon d'Or contender,
In my opinion, he deserves to win the Golden Ball.
to falling on the floor. From saying he will do it 10 times more, to doing it 10 times less. From scoring massive goals in the Champions League,
Vinicius Junior bounces. It's a gift from Vinicius Junior.
to sending penalties to Mars next to Elon Musk's satellites.
And it's high, and it's wide, and we're still locked at level without the window.
Vinny's career is a story on its own. At times, he looks like he's
Vi ses,
bringing
mor.
John Bonito back. Other times, he looks like his Brazilian passport should be revoked. Big goals one moment,
Ja, det skal jeg nok. Ja.
crash out the next.
His temperament, it just takes away from his game, you know.
What the hell is happening to Vinny? The thing about Vinny is that no matter how he's playing, he's easily one of the most polarizing footballers in the world. If you ask anyone what they think of the Brazilian, they usually fall into one of 3 categories. The first one is they love him as a player and they tolerate him as a person. That's usually Madrid fans who are willing to accept his random crash outs due to the fact that he has brought the club so much joy. The second category is people that respect him as a player but don't like him as a person. And the third category are people who don't respect him as a player don't respect him as a person, and think he's ugly. Based on this, you can see why so many people didn't want him winning the Ballon d'Or in 2024, and why his bad performances get so much attention. It also doesn't help that even Brazilians are torn on him. Many wonder why he can never replicate his Real Madrid form for the Brazilian national team. The interesting thing is that a few years ago, nobody respected his footballing ability. Remember, Vini's own teammate was saying that he's playing against them.
O que o Benzema tinha contra você, cara?
The mixed opinions surrounding him perfectly reflect his game. He's the kind of player you either love or hate, just like his performances. One day he's playing at a world-class level, the next he looks at Garnacho. With Vini, there's never been an in-between. What's interesting is that many of the issues that we are seeing in Vini's game right now are things that he was criticized about early in his career. When he was rising through the ranks of Flamengo, his speed and dribbling were praised. But even then, not everyone was a fan of him. He only scored 4 goals in 32 appearances in his 2017 debut season. And according to The Athletic, many complained that he was doing too many tricks. Too much individualism, not enough teamwork, was the consensus among many at the club. Perfect example was the Under-17 South American Championship in Chile. Vini went to represent his country. He scored 7 goals and returned with a winner's medal. Scored more goals in that tournament than his entire Brazilian career so far. But while he had been great individually, he actually received an earful from his coach, Carlos Amadeo. For as good as Vini was, he didn't track back defensively. We are seeing a similar issue with him now at Madrid, where him and Mbappe want to play with their nuts instead of pressing the opposition back line. Despite the mixed opinions around him at the time though, Vini ended up extending his contract with Flamengo from 2019 to 2022 with a significant salary increase and a buyout clause increase from 30 million euros to 45 million euros. This contract renewal was reported as being a part of the transfer process to get Vini to Real Madrid. The Spanish Giants didn't care that he had barely played. Perez saw something special in him and took the gamble. Here's actually live footage of Perez recruiting Vini. And it really was a gamble because at times he did look like the next Neymar. But Neymar was dominating Liga do Brasil before he made the jump to La Liga. Vini, on the other hand, was only 16 and had played 17 minutes of senior football when his deal was agreed with Madrid. Even in Brazil, people were shocked at the huge price tag. And many wondered if this skinny kid could live up to the fee that was paid for him. Now you would think that signing for Los Blancos would be enough pressure. Well, that was only the beginning. Vini was announced as Real Madrid's first summer signing 4 days after they had secured their first La Liga title in 5 years. Then to add even more pressure, by the time Vini would be incorporated into the Real setup, he would be the replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo following his move to Juventus after 9 years at the Bernabeu. Remember, technically Hazard was the replacement, but he kept getting injured, so Vini had to step up. No pressure, kid. Vini was supposed to be part of Madrid's new transfer strategy, signing the best players before they exploded. His technical ability and pace were obvious to see, but the question on everyone's mind was the mental side of his game. Could he settle in fast in a new league and country? Could he handle the stress and responsibility that came with the price tag that was paid for him? Initially, Vini started with Real Madrid Castilla, the B team. It didn't take long for him to make an impression, scoring 2 goals in a 2-2 draw against Atletico Madrid B. The performance got the Madrid media buzzing, with many of them asking Lopetegui to throw Vini straight into the first team, especially since Madrid were struggling for goals after Ronaldo had gone to Italy to eat lasagna. Lopetegui ended up giving Vini 12 minutes of game time over 2 La Liga games. They wanted to be cautious with his development, so he mainly played with his own age group at Castilla. But then after a 5-1 El Clasico defeat to Barca, Lopetegui was fired. Santiago Solari became the replacement, and he brought Vini with him. For Vini, this was a great opportunity, but it was also trial by fire. He was young and raw, and he was stepping foot into a Real Madrid team that was going through a very difficult campaign. The Bernabeu crowd quickly liked him due to his pace, dribbling, and positive energy. Even if you're Vini's biggest hater, you can't deny the guy is relentless. He never stops running and attacking when he has the ball. Doesn't matter if he beat his fullback 10 times or 0 times. He is always going to try to create something. A great quality to have in a winger.
Rabona to the edge of the 6, brought down by Lucas Vazquez. Told you he had the tricks. Yeah. Pulls one of them back here. But it's tricks with a purpose.
At the time, the flashy moves and speed made Madrid fans ignore the inconsistent end product. In the Copa del Rey semi-final against Barca, for example, Vinny missed a lot of chances, but he was also Madrid's most dangerous player, one of the few guys that was constantly running at the Barca defense.
Once again, one of the few lively sparks in this Madrid performance.
Unfortunately for Vinny, an injury cut his season short. He finished with 3 goals and 12 assists in all competitions. Not bad for a kid thrown in the mix during a tough campaign for Real Madrid. But the honeymoon period would end for Vinny in the next few seasons. Fans were initially fine with the inconsistent performances because he was new, but now they expected more. Him beating a defender was exciting, but when he missed the shot right after, you could hear the groans in the Bernabeu.
This man, all he needs to do is score tonight.
The pressure was also getting to Vinny. When he finally broke his goal drought against Osasuna, he broke down into tears. That's how much he was struggling, but that's also how much it meant to him to succeed. Then in March of 2020, he had a huge moment in El Clasico, scoring in a 2-0 win over Barca. At just 19 years old, he had become the youngest Madrid player to score in the rivalry since Raul. That goal fired up the home crowd and made people believe that he could deliver in big games. But like I said, he wasn't consistent. After that goal against Barca, he only scored 1 more goal for the rest of the season. For every exciting run or goal, there was also a missed chance and poor decisions. The most talked about criticism actually ended up not coming from the media, but from a teammate. It's always those closest to you. In October of 2020, the footage of Benzema saying that Vinny's playing against them came out. And the craziest part about all of that was that the majority of people actually agreed with Haramzema. They agreed that Vinny was making too many mistakes in the final third. Some, of course, stood by the young Brazilian. They were saying that, hey, this is one of the few guys that's actually trying to make something happen. But the general mood and emotion around the situation was exactly what Benzema felt. People wanted much more from Vinny. The lowest point came for Vinny in the Champions League against Atalanta in 2021. After a nice solo run where he danced past several defenders, he was left with a wide open goal. It should have been a moment to celebrate, but instead, he scuffed the shot wide.
Oh, it would have been a fantastic soul from Vinicius Jr. He just could not apply the final touch.
Vinicius didn't hide though. He faced the criticism head on. Zidane and his staff also kept encouraging him to attack defenders, knowing that his fearlessness was a rare gift. The media though was not forgiving. One day the Spanish paper Marca would call him the future of Real Madrid, and the next,
Hello? To sekunder. Hvis jeg kan finde den. Så er det jo nærmere sådan noget hele. Vi spørger. Hvad så Mia? Er det okay? Hvad så Mia? Er det okay? Jeg skal have afsluttet den her. Vi venter på en, der kommer.
They slam him for his lack of goals. But just when the doubts were at their loudest, Vinny reminded everyone why Madrid took a chance on him. In April of 2021, under the bright lights of the Champions League, against Liverpool in the quarterfinals, he delivered the best performance of his career so far. Using his blistering pace, he tore apart Liverpool's defense the way guys tear apart Bonnie Blue, scoring 2 brilliant goals in a 3-1 win. That match made one thing very clear. Vinny at his best was special.
Vinicius Jr. much maligned by Real Madrid fans, the media, and indeed his players, his teammates at times. What a show he put in today.
Yes, he did.
The next season was when everything finally clicked for Vinny. After years of being called a promising talent, he made the jump to a true star. What was the difference? Eyebrow Man. The new Real Madrid manager didn't just see his potential, he saw a player ready to shine. And Vinny, he didn't disappoint. Early in the season, he scored 2 lovely goals against Levante, showing fans that this was a new version of Vinny. Sharper, calmer, and actually deadly in front of goal. The days of missed chances and shaky finishes were behind him. Week after week, he was racking up goals and assists. He wasn't just improving, he was actually dominating. He was among La Liga's top goal scorers and had formed a dangerous partnership with his biggest hater, Karim Benzema. It's almost hard to believe that a year earlier, Benzema had essentially called him ass. Now the two of them were tearing apart defenses the way Drake tears up porn stars. Real Madrid stormed to the La Liga title that season, with Vinny putting up massive numbers. But his biggest moment was actually still yet to come. In the Champions League final against Liverpool, Vinny wrote his name into Real Madrid's history. In a tense match, he popped up at the back post to score the winning goal.
Vinicius, the rising star of Real Madrid, flying in the moment.
The only goal of the game, securing Madrid's 14th European crown. As he sprinted away in celebration, arms wide and a big smile across his face, it was clear. The young kid, who many thought wouldn't make it, had just delivered on the biggest stage in football. The big money gamble that Madrid took on a skinny teenager from Flamengo back in 2017, it had paid off.
Who needs a Mbappe? They've got Vinicius Jr.
By the 2023 season, Vinny was a superstar, but that also meant it was the start of a whole new fight. With his rise came new challenges. Defenders across La Liga knew that they could get in his head, so they began to hack him down every chance they got. They tried to get into altercations with him. Vinny became one of the most foul players in Spain. Still though, he didn't back down. He finished the season with 23 goals. Then he showed up on the biggest stage again, scoring twice in the FIFA Club World Cup final to help Madrid lift another trophy. Against Man City in the Champions League, he made Kyle Walker look like a pylon. But while he was thriving on the pitch, off of it, he was facing something far uglier than tough tackles. Throughout the season, Vinny became the target of repeated racist abuse in Spanish stadiums. What started as isolated incidents turned into a shameful pattern. Things escalated when, in September of 2022, a Spanish TV pundit told Vinny to stop dancing after his goal, and then said he should stop playing the monkey. But then things got worse in May of 2023 during a match at Valencia. Vinny kept getting relentless racist chants. After the game, he took to social media, calling out La Liga for failing to protect players from racism. And instead of immediate support, the league's president, Javier Tebas, criticized Vinny on Twitter. Within days, Tebas was forced to apologize publicly, admitting he was wrong. But it was a harsh reminder to Vinny that despite his talent and courage, he was a polarizing figure. He was loved by Madrid fans for his brilliance and the success he brought them, but hated by everyone else. Through it all, Vinny kept delivering on the pitch. He was still Madrid's most dangerous player. They didn't win La Liga, but Vinny did help them get the Copa del Rey. After Benzema left Madrid in 2023, all eyes turned to Vini. The young Brazilian was no longer just a star. He was expected to be the leader of Madrid's attack. That kind of pressure could be overwhelming to some players, but not for Vini. He embraced it and had the best season of his career. He scored over 20 goals, delivered countless assists, and became the heartbeat of a Madrid team that ended up winning the double. It wasn't just about flair anymore. Vini was deciding games. He was so good individually that Ballon d'Or talks began. People that don't like him will say that his total numbers were not good enough that year to be a Ballon d'Or winner. But personally, I think he deserved it, because the moments where he got his goal contributions were the definition of clutch. In the business end of the Champions League, he was Madrid's best player. It was his goal that helped Madrid avoid an almost shocking round of 16 exit to Leipzig. Then he got 2 assists against City.
Kept out the first, but not the second.
Fantastic move, just in between the two defenders.
Scored a brace against Bayern in the semis, then scored in the final of the Champions League. He had also gotten a hat-trick in the Supercopa final against Barca. In fact, when the club season ended, most people had Vini as the overwhelming favorite to lift the Ballon d'Or.
Ballon d'Or. Vinicius is taking the Ballon d'Or.
Yes, Rio Ferdinand is a grown-ass man yelling Ballon d'Or for a player who doesn't even play for United, but he was right. But in a year where there's a major international tournament, you have to perform for your country. And Vini just didn't. He got a brace against Paraguay and that was it. Non-existent against Costa Rica and Colombia. In fact, all he did against Colombia was get a silly yellow that suspended him from the quarterfinals against Uruguay. As a result, he went from being a Ballon d'Or favorite to finishing second. Him and Madrid didn't take it well, to say the least. Boycotted the ceremony, constantly threw shots. It was actually during this period that Vini's now famous tweet came out. I will do it 10 times more if I have to. The tweet would have been so...
Lad os se, hvad der er herovre. Så startsiden. It's getting scary, you know. Forever entertained. Oh. She abused him. Shit. Mia Khalifa.
Mia Khalifa is quite literally the most famous adult film star of all time, despite only being in the industry for 3 months. Her most infamous video where she wore a hijab while doing it with 2 other people garnered her overnight success and overnight hate from all across the world. This one video started a domino effect where it made her the most searched for actress on these websites for years and basically made her a celebrity. However, many people were shocked when years later she revealed that from her entire time in the industry she only made $12,000. Mia would come forward to reveal just how evil the industry was, how it completely ruined her life, and how a company completely manipulated her. The world started to see her as a victim of an evil and controlling industry that completely exploited her for profit. But is that really the story? Now, over the years, Mia's story seems to change with lots and lots of different contradictions. She says that she got started when she was approached by a shady businessman to do nude modeling and then was slowly manipulated into doing adult videos. Yet there's evidence of her posting explicit content on the internet for free way before this happened. There's records of her working as a stripper, and at the time she stated that she was excited to do adult videos. She says that she only made $12,000 and was in the industry for 3 months, yet the company that signed her claims that she made over $170,000 and was in the industry for nearly 3 years. She claimed that the industry is evil and that she wants nothing to do with it, yet turns around and then makes an OF. Is Mia Khalifa truly a victim of the industry like she says she is, or is this simply all a lie to benefit off of her image? Let's cut the bullshit and get right into it. Now, Mia was born in 1993 in Lebanon, which is a Muslim country. However, she was primarily raised as Catholic, as her father is very, very devoted. She even has a Catholic symbol tatted on her hand. Now, it was in Lebanon where she attended a French private school that actually helped her learn English. But her family left Lebanon in 2011 during the Lebanon protests. These protests at the time were against Syrian occupation demonstration, and they got pretty violent as lots of people were arrested from it. So to get away from all of it, Mia and her family moved to the US. But coming into the US as a Middle Eastern family right after the 9/11 attacks did not do them a lot of favors. Being a Muslim or being a person of Middle Eastern descent was not a very easy time. In school, Mia was bullied relentlessly, constantly being called the darkest and weirdest kid.
I was the odd one out.
and everyone was white and Jewish, and I wanted to have a bar mitzvah, and I wanted to do all of these things that everyone else was doing, and eat the peanut butter jelly sandwiches in my lunch bag like everyone else. And there was a lot of bullying and a lot of things that ensued after 9/11 happened. So my childhood was a little rough. I didn't have too many friends.
And if that wasn't enough, she also was bullied for being overweight, which caused a lot of self-image issues. Because she had such a horrible life, she attended the Macedon Military School in Virginia. Now, it was at this school when she was 16 years old that she actually met her future husband. But the weird thing is, though, is that this guy was 23 at the time, making a 7-year difference. And if that wasn't weird enough, they got married right when she turned 18. So, yeah, pretty gross. And the main reason Mia even did this was because her self-esteem was just so low.
Og den med Vidal. Han har en med Vidal. Ej, hvis den er gammel, bliver jeg tosset. Hvad gør jeg ellers undmere? Shit. Shit.
Supposed to be with Kai. What? Listen to me. You two are destined to be together.
Kai has only been in 2 episodes and they're already making her endgame. I make a joke about this, but it's just insane. So here's the opinion you probably weren't expecting. I don't hate Kai. Kai got screwed by Omniverse. No, seriously. I don't think enough people truly appreciate how doomed this character was. Not since Abby have we seen a character just so doomed to get shit on. Yeah, sure, you can argue that the character works, but from the fandom perspective, she never stood a chance. Coming after the fan, okay, I'm gonna be really generous here and call her favorite Julie, who for 5 seasons was Ben's love interest, despite Ben failing at cheating on her in every other episode. But still, she remained the most popular non-incestuous ship for Ben. Only for Omniverse to swoop in, beat that ship to death with a cell phone, and tell us that we were getting Kai instead. Yeah, no shit. People were going to react negatively to her, but the writers somehow found a way to dig that hole even deeper.
Trust me, Ben and Kai are the perfect couple. They just didn't know it.
Yeah, it's not enough that the show is pushing them so hard. They're putting them together because the in-canon reason is fate. Honestly, this ship should be dissected, studied, and burnt to the ground for what not to do in a relationship, as it's bad enough when a show tries to force a couple. But when the show admits that it's forcing the couple because of a pop-up, it's no wonder people wanted to hit delete. Hi, I'm Sarcastic Chorus, and I'm a shipping degenerate, currently dying of thirst, so subscribe. It won't help, but it will make me happy. Now, Kai is a touchy subject for the Ben 10 fandom, as she has her defenders, but everything about her, from her personality to her role in the show, has been picked apart by people with a very obvious bone to pick. And like most things on the internet, some of the criticism is valid, others are exaggerated, and some of it is just complete and utter nonsense. Now, I didn't watch Omniverse when it came out. I heard about it, heard what happened, but I still came in with a slightly open mind. So I can now do you all the favor by going through why Kai is here, her real problems, and just general thoughts. As the Julie drama aside, Kai isn't a great character, but the show still doesn't do her any favors. But let's just get over that why question, though, because it's so insane going down this rabbit hole. Because why would Kai, a character who made one appearance in the original show plus a cameo be brought back years later, midway through the 4th season of the 4th show about Ben 10, only to be immediately declared Ben's sole love interest and steamroll the competition. The answer is, of course, stupid. But it's because of this pop-up that said she would. Back in the day, Cartoon Network would do these fun little trivia bubbles that give you little extra facts about the show from the creators. Some of them were fun, some of them were boring, but no one ever took them seriously. Like, they're basically creators making announcements on Twitter, like, you could take this as canon, but it also doesn't mean shit and can be changed at a moment's notice as it has no actual bearing on the show. Which is what happened with Alien Force, as it pretty much ignored these things and tell its own story without having to get bogged down in what has to happen or follow someone else's checklist.
Yeah.
But then Omniverse happened, and suddenly those pop-ups became gospel. See, Omniverse has a problem, in that it comes after Ultimate Alien and Alien Force, both of which are good shows on their own, but neither were the mega hits Cartoon Network wanted. So they just kept messing with it, constantly trying to recapture lightning in a bottle that was the original Ben 10. First, they started by regressing Ben's character from a goofy but mature guy into a narcissist 10-year-old pretending to be 15, before pushing for more connections to the original series, more episodes where we got to see Kid Ben, more, which just became the main mandate for Omniverse. It had a tall order. It had to match the tone of the original series more, tell stories including Kid Ben, follow up on Ultimate Alien, all the canon that it created, again, doing everything humanly possible to make Omniverse like Ben 10 OG. Now, I do like Omniverse. I do think it's fun. It has arguably one of the best art styles in the series, and Rook is best boy. But somewhere down the line, being like the original Ben 10 turned into a, let's make a Ben 10,000 prequel, and that obsession gets really annoying once you notice it. And FYI, Ben 10,000 was an alternate future episode of Ben 10 where he travels 10 years into the future to teach his former self to take a chill pill as he is a massive dick. But then, the episode ends. And that future won't happen. It's AU. Will never happen because Ben gave his grandpa a fucking cake. It was a cool, fun side adventure where we got to see a badass older version of our child protagonist. And throughout the series, we in fact would meet many different versions of Ben 10K, but none of them ever fully lined up with that first episode. Especially when you factor in the confirmed sequel to the episode, where Ben's son Ken meets Kevin, who has a chin scar and is still Ben's nemesis. This alternate future only makes sense if you imagine it from the OG series on, because it makes no fucking sense that Kevin would still be a villain after becoming a good guy and breaking Gwen's back. This future was impossible, but Omniverse still became obsessed with making it happen anyway, as it would do small things, normal stuff that I kind of enjoy, like changing certain character designs to foreshadow what they look like in Ben 10K. Dr. Animal got this brain jar he'd have in that one episode, Kevin would get the same scar, and the whole world seemed to be on track to being more futuristic and alien-filled, like it was in the future. The only problem, though, is Ken. See, Ken 10 was a Tanner mini-me of Ben, the pop-ups confirming that Kai was his mother, and because good guys can't have baby mamas, she has to be Ben's wife. So Kai has to be endgame, because Ben 10K was this show's. And let me just say, flat out, Ben 10 has a bit of a retcon problem. The fact is, everyone liked the original, but Man of Action, the team that created it, only worked on that first series, meaning every new series had a slightly different team with different ideas and motives, going from how the world works to how the characters changed. Some changes are good, some are terrible, but so long as it added more than it takes away, I'm usually fine with retcons. I'm a comic book fan. I have to accept their existence. Omniverse's big problem, though, is that while it is fun, it feels like a show trying to bend and contort itself in the established stories to fit an ending it has long since grown past. This is a show with multiverse. All these universes can coexist, but after Alien Force, you simply can't make this become this. So what Omniverse ends up actually doing is borrowing the aesthetics of these two episodes, even though it knows it can't happen. It admits it, which begs the question, what's the fucking point? Why be so slavishly devoted to these 2 episodes of the original if you can't actually make it happen? This is a new show, and the fan service is cute at first once you notice it, but then all of a sudden it starts influencing the characters and the writing. It completely loses me. Omniverse is good, but whenever it tries to make the show more like Ben 10K, it succeeds at only highlighting all of its worst traits. And nowhere is this more evident than with Kai, as she feels like she is completely shoehorned into the series, and once you recognize what the show is trying to do, it caused the perception of Kai to shift from being an underdeveloped love interest to feeling like a creator's pet, where the people behind the show are more in love with the character than the fans are, causing a disconnect where the traits they would imagine to come off as cute or fun become aggravating, and the playful bickering that the show wanted never feels romantic. It just feels like the show wants it to be romantic. But besides that, Kai's character didn't have to bomb as hard as it did. But so many of the creative decisions and ideas around Omniverse, topped with Julie, the previous love interest of over 90 episodes, getting thrown out in a joke, doomed this ship. And we haven't even started talking about who Kai is, so you know this girl is screwed.
Kai Green is going to marry Ben Tennyson.
Please, I've heard that one before.
Kai was in the original series, and she's not interesting. The only things you really remember about her is Navajo. Ben has a crush on her. She's not interested in him, though, till wolf aliens scratch the Omnitrix, causing Ben to start shifting into one, which only then does he get her attention. Sadly, when Ben turned back into Ben, she loses interest, as she's a Jacob stan, and taming his wolven sensibilities was hot. But she couldn't care less about the actual person.
You really liked me. Well, that was before you turned back into, well, you.
She's a with her only real memorable trait being that Ben had a crush on her. But Omniverse needed to give her personality traits, so her loving Ben's transformations, then telling Ben to fuck off, was going to be hers. And it's not great. I'll get to that in a moment, but Kai being a furry is the least of this girl's worries. Ben and Kai don't have any chemistry, or more accurately, Ben Kai doesn't have as much chemistry as the show thinks they do. The main idea is that these two as a couple is that they have belligerent sexual tension. They are constantly fighting, they're arguing. You always think like, okay, can you guys just screw already? But the main idea behind Kai, or like the appeal, is that she's going to be the only girl who can check Ben's ego when he's being an ass. A poor man's Artemis and Kid Flash. The only problem with that idea, though, is that isn't what she is. Again,
okay,
this
Mia.
is an area where I see the intent of what they're trying to do, but it's also weirdly awkward in places, like take their first conversation together. It's a pretty typical meetup for acquaintances who haven't seen each other in years. Hi, nice to see you. Oh, wow, you grew... Oh.
Vi får snart gæster for ham. Der er grund til at riste og lige lave kogen. Nå, lad os lige se den her imens.
Hey, hvad så sammen med til den video? I dag skal vi teste den her Tiger Energy drink. Jeg har hørt fra homebasen bag kameraet.
Hej.
Ja.
Markus filmer, men du ved, når man ikke har...
Nej, det lover jeg så. Det lover jeg så.
Så hvad det hedder, det er en cola-energidrik. Kan jeg se...
Mia har fanget mig. Fuck.
Jeg tror ikke er sol, det ved vi godt.
Den OG er sol.
Ja, den OG er sol er faktisk det bedste blik.
Præcis.
Ja.
Den nye sol, den er ikke lige så god.
Nej, det kan vi godt indrømme nu. Det var hype dengang vi lavede det.
Ja. Den er stadig god, men den er ikke lige så god.
Den har en anden smag end kuld cola.
Ja.
Altså kuld cola for eksempel, det er jo bare harbo cola.
Ja.
Hvis du glemmer den strategi, så smager den, så vil jeg sige, så er den lige god.
Ja.
Lige god, og hvis du glemmer, når der strategi til kuld cola, selvfølgelig 10 ud af 10.
Ja.
Hvis vi tager bare smagen, så er det kuld cola nok bare en...
Så er det nok en etter.
Så er det nok bare 3 ud af 10.
Eller en 3.
Max.
3 ud af 6, fordi så kan den drikkes.
Ja, 3 ud af 6, ikke?
Den er da en god eller dårlig, den kan bare...
Jeg vil prøve at smage igen. har et ordentligt hår.
Nå, han.
Ja, jeg vil sige... 3,2. Det er det, jeg vil sige. Nu fordi den smager faktisk fint nok.
Ja. Er det ikke dårligt?
Ud af 6, ud af 6 selvfølgelig.
Det er ikke dårligt.
Ja. 3,2 ud af 6. Det var mere på den video. Like and subscribe, hey, it's been your boy.
Peace out.
Ja. Okay, lad os se, hvad der ellers er for mig. God klassiker. En anden klassiker. Nej, ikke her. Ikke dem, vi skal se. Nå, han kommer. Hej Sander.
Halløj.
Bare sidde der. Jeg streamer lige, bare så du ved det.
Yes, er det chatten?
Det er chatten. Mia er i chatten.
Chatten.
Mia er min større. Ja, vil du høre noget sjovt, Sander, jeg har fundet ud af?
Hvad så der?
Men det er jo flest drenge, der ser min video, ikke?
Ja.
Men din pige, der er min største fan. Hun tager med hver dag.
Okay,
Ja,
stil.
jeg har hendes nummer, det er Mia. Hun tager med nu.
Nå,
Hej Mia.
for satan.
Det her, det bliver min nabo, om der er flytter. Så vi kalder ham naboen Sander.
Ja, det gør vi.
Ja. Det bliver min nabo, når jeg flytter.
Great.
Så. Jeg har ristet, og jeg har lavet kogen.
Yes. Jeg købte det her for...
Hvor købte du det
i
henne?
går. Moody købte dem.
Nå.
Rigtig gode, synes jeg.
Moody fra Sorø, eller?
Jeg kender dem, Moody og Mo.
Nej, men jeg skulle bare lige være sikker, om det var Moody fra Kæresvej.
Det er det ikke.
Super, for ham vil jeg ikke snakke med.
Det var. Men det er sindssygt godt det her, og ja.
Skal vi prøve?
Ja,
vi er klar. Så sætter jeg lige...
Laver vi et eller to?
Halvlejner.
Halvlejner.
Jeg har først halvandet smøg.
Alright.
Er det med X eller S, spørger hun? X, ja. Så gør vi lige, hvad nu det hedder. Ja, det bliver min nabo. Det er fordi, vi fandt ud af, han har været her et par gange, ikke? Hvad nu det hedder. Der er ikke noget der. Jeg tror ikke...
Skal det her? Eller
nej, gør det her.
Okay.
Så,
yes.
Det er ristet. Men han bliver min nabo, når jeg skal flytte. Så.
Det bliver mega stilet.
Ja, det bliver sjovt.
Så
hver gang du keder dig, så kommer du bare sådan, og jeg sidder og streamer, så bakker du på og siger, og så skal du lige sige hej til chatten.
Skal jeg bare lige join streamen?
Ja.
Shit. Det kan blive fucking grineren.
Ja. Mia siger hej til dig, Sander.
Hej Mia.
Ja. Hvad nu det hedder, det bliver lige goatemissen.
Ja, det gør jeg.
Han er virkelig irriterende, synes jeg.
Goatemissen?
Jeg synes, han er irriterende. Jeg ved godt, han er ikke så gammel, ikke?
Jeg tror kun, jeg har set den der, hvor han tager ind og spiser det der på det.
Ja, jeg har set ham skubbe en 3-årig.
The døner, hvad?
Jeg har set ham skubbe en 3-årig ned i næsten, bare ned på jorden. Det mest var sne. En
hell?
3-årig. Slås med en på din egen størrelse. Jeg er ligeglad, om han er 11 år gammel. Han skal ikke skubbe en 3-årig.
Ja, shit, man.
Hvad tror han er?
Ærligt.
Altså.
Goatemissen. Nej. Hvor satan der.
Jeg vil ikke være stolt af Søndergaard kan carry min karriere.
Ja.
Han skubber, altså det var ikke det. Han skulle forklare det hele, du ved, på TikTok, bare sådan noget lidt. Fair nok, at jeg forklarer det. Ja, jeg prøver at komme med en undskyldning. Men han sagde ikke undskyld.
Nej.
Hvad det hedder. Ikke til den lille dreng der.
Nej.
Ikke hvad jeg har set. Hvad det hedder. Altså, jeg ved godt, at han er et barn, og det skal heller ikke definere, hvem man er, hvem man bliver sådan, ikke? Men det er et fejl. Det er en fejl, og den kommer man til at blive husket for.
Lige præcis. Altså, det skubber jo ikke små børn. Altså.
Nej, det er der på leje. Ja. Altså, det er det samme, hvis du skubbede en eller anden 5-årig. Det gør du da heller ikke. Det var sådan lidt voldsomt. Han fløj også bare det 3-årige. Han fløj.
Hvor gammel er goatemissen?
11 eller sådan noget. Måske 13, 12, 13, 14. Men
shit.
Han er i hvert fald ikke 10 år længere. Det kan jeg godt se. Du ved, der er en del forskel. Der er en del forskel.
Ja, det er der sgu.
Altså, jeg havde måske, du ved, hvis han nu var 8, ikke? Så havde jeg måske ikke kigget gennem fingrene med det. Men han er ikke 8.
Nej, lige præcis.
Ja.
Don't touch the little små børn, det må man ikke.
Ja. Goatemissen er en upcoming pedo.
upcoming pedophile.
Ja, upcoming pedophile.
Shit, man. Hvad har du så lavet indtil videre? Bare streamet, eller hvad?
Ja, jeg stod op. Jeg lavede mig en kop kaffe, og så tændte jeg en stream. Jeg så det, du skrev først,
Ja.
men der havde du ikke svaret mig.
Jeg skrev ikke, og så faldt jeg bare i søvn igen på.
Jeg kender følelsen. Jeg har købt en sixpack med sukkerfri Red Bulls, ikke? Vil du have en?
Ja,
den
tak.
sidste får du.
Jeg elsker Red Bull. Tak.
Jeg kunne få den sidste, så noget at drikke. Har jeg fortalt jer, at jeg boykotter Burger King?
Ja, det sagde du til mig sidst.
Ja, jeg er stadig sur. Hvis du kan forstå mig. Ja, jeg kan godt lave min egen vanilje milkshake.
De snød mig også for fucking 8 mozzarella sticks eller sådan noget, mand.
Hvor mange fik du?
Jeg fik chili cheese tops i stedet for, og så fik jeg...
Men mozzarella sticks, så skal man have mozzarella sticks.
Ja.
Og når man skal chili cheese tops, så er det chili cheese tops.
Ja.
Stor forskel.
Ja, og så gav de mig bare cheese tops, selvom jeg bestilte mozzarella sticks, og så fik jeg kun sådan 3 i stedet for.
Shit, du bestilte for 5 stik.
Scammer gets scammed.
Ja.
Shit, man.
Så putter vi bare det her i.
Yes, ellers... Ja,
det er rigtigt.
Ja, det er virkelig stærkt også. Jeg tænker, det er fint. Vil du fylde, eller...?
Jeg kan godt fylde.
Okay.
Er det fra Sorø, sagde du? Du sagde, det var fra Sorø.
Ja, fra Sorø.
Må jeg lige prøve din puff, før vi starter?
Ja. Men de sagde, at de havde købt noget, der hed sådan noget smulder eller sådan noget. Det skulle være noget lidt dyrere noget. Så lad os se, hvad det kan. Ligesom ham der... Jeg kan ikke engang huske, hvad noget er. Ham der manden.
Vi skal lave en smoke talk en dag, Sander.
Ja, ærligt ikke? Det skal vi faktisk.
Ja, så kalder jeg den så kalder jeg den smoke talk 51 med min nabo.
Ja, det kunne blive bangers. Banger video.
Det får vi tid til.
Ja.
Det kan vi måske gøre, før jeg flytter.
Før du flytter?
Ja, fordi det hedder... Ellers skal vi vente til efter september.
Nå jo.
Ja, jeg er kun hjemme i en måned.
Ja.
Det hedder, og så er jeg væk i 3 uger.
Men ja, lad os lige finde ud af en smoke talk så.
Ja.
Her snart.
Ja.
Ej,
og så laver vi en part 2 en dag, ikke? Men der, hvor vi gør det i kælderen.
Ja, det gør vi sgu. Det bliver vi næsten nødt til.
Ja.
Altså, det er et ikonisk spot.
Ja.
Shit.
Der er sikkert også noget, der røg i den lejlighed, uden jeg ved det nu.
Ja, shit. Ej, næste uge, ikke?
Ja.
Jeg skal op i... Det er min sidste terminsprøver.
Hvor dejligt.
Ja. Med matematik, altså, jeg tror ikke, det kommer til at gå så godt, men dansk ved jeg, min synopse, den har jeg sgu styr på.
Okay, det er godt.
Ja.
Jeg var ude på en snak med studievejde her på VUC i går, ikke? Men det hedder, jeg skal have dansk og matematik først, før jeg kan få min enkelt fag, ikke?
Okay.
Og det siger jeg fint nok til, for jeg mangler min 9. klasse i sidste ende, det er officielt, ikke? Og hvis jeg skal være ærlig, ikke? Dengang jeg var din alder, ikke? Der var jeg måske ikke klar, men... Men resten af tiden, ikke? Du ved, fra STU'en til nu, ikke? Men det hedder, så følte jeg var klar. Jeg ved, jeg kan. Jeg ved godt, den er ikke, forstår mig ret, jeg er 28. Den er ikke svær nu. Jeg burde godt kunne forstå, hvordan man gør. Det burde ikke være så svært, som det er nu.
Lige præcis. Men også, altså, det er jo ikke alle, der er lige klar på det tidspunkt.
Ja.
Altså, det er jo de der prøver, altså nogle af dem, altså, de er jo hårde, de er jo svære. Altså.
Ja, i den alder, fordi sådan er det. Altså, det kan jeg også godt forstå, i den alder var jeg ikke klar, Men når jeg følte, jeg var klar i mange år, ikke? Fordi jeg gik på noget, der hedder STU, ikke? Det er sådan noget speciel uddannelse, ikke? Eller særligt tilrettelagt uddannelse, ikke? Ja. Hvor jeg lærte at klippe film. Det er også derfor, jeg er så god til at finde det rigtige punkt på YouTube og klippe.
No.
Jeg har det perfekte snit. Men det snakker vi om bagefter. Men jeg vil også gerne til eksamen der, så de forberedte mig på eksamen, og så efter STU'en, så kom jeg på FGU. Og så blev det smildt helt væk, at jeg skulle til eksamen. Jeg har bestået en optagelsesprøve, så man kom på erhvervsskole, ikke?
Ja.
Den kan kun bruges lidt til VUC. Okay. Ikke helt ud.
Okay.
Så det er ikke en helt godtagelse, så jeg skal have dansk og matematik.
Okay.
Først, ikke? Og så engelsk bagefter. Men så kan jeg også godt få bestået det, så jeg har det. Jeg ved, jeg kan.
Ja.
Det er ikke så svært. Det er ikke så svært.
Ja.
Jeg kan godt snakke sproget, jeg kan godt stave, jeg kan godt læse, så så er det bare en, hvad er det så? Er det bare en analyserer, eller hvad?
Ja. Shit.
Altså, bare så længe man kan snakke sproget, stave og læse, så går det vel nok.
Lige præcis.
Ja. Det bliver godt, det her.
Ja. Skal vi se, hvad chatten siger?
Mia spørger, hvor gammel du er.
Jeg er 15 år. Jeg bliver 16 her til september. Når Pjuske kommer tilbage.
Ja.
Det er stilet, så skal vi have sådan en fødselsdagsjoint.
Ja, så snart jeg kommer hjem.
Ja.
Pjuske, det er nu.
Ja.
Og så jeg er lige kommet hjem.
Shit, man.
Jeg er lige kommet hjem.
Hvad dato kom du hjem den?
Jeg ved det ikke. Jeg ved bare, at jeg rejser den 9. september.
Okay.
Jeg rejser den 9. Jeg rejser her, og så er jeg væk i 3 uger, sådan 30.
Okay, ja. Det er lige efter min fødselsdag.
Ja.
Så bliver det bare sådan en sen...
Ja, vi kan bare gøre det 1. oktober, hvis der var.
Lige præcis.
Fordi venner, jeg er nok lidt træt dagen efter.
Ja.
Eller på dagen, jeg skal nok lige sove.
Præcis.
Men så vil der ikke noget galt med lige en godnatpind, når vi kommer hjem.
Ja, lidt.
Men jeg er selvfølgelig med på... Jeg håber, jeg kan få lov til at streame, når jeg er i Vietnam. Men du ved, jeg skal bare streame på min telefon eller min computer og sådan noget. Jeg mener, min mor har internet nu.
Okay. Fair.
Fedt. Mia siger fedt. Går du så i 8. eller 9. klasse?
Jeg går i 8. fordi at i børnehaven, der var jeg sgu ikke lige Guds bedste barn, så da jeg tog et år om i børnehaven, så nu går jeg i 8.
Jeg kan huske det sidste halve år, min børnehave ikke blev kedet. Jeg sad bare i sofaen, men når de pædagogerne sagde sådan, hvorfor sidder du i sofaen? Bare sådan, jeg keder mig ikke. Så jeg til børnehave. Jeg kan gå i leg med de andre. Nej, mine venner er færdige med børnehaven. Bare fortsæt alle dine venner i børnehaven er gået og startet i skole.
Kan du huske Maddie, ikke?
Ja.
Vi gik jo i børnehave sammen. Han tog også et år sammen med mig, fordi vi var sidst. Vi var de største ballademager på den børnehave. Det var helt cray sidst. Cray.
Sådan der. Så er den næsten klar. Så kan vi også se noget YouTube imens. Det plejer jeg nogle gange at gøre, når jeg streamer og ryger.
Ja, lad os gøre det.
Ja. Det er altså hyggeligt at lige have noget kørende, mens man ryger. Det behøver ikke altid være musik.
Ja, lige præcis.
Nogle gange kan det også
der plejer jeg også bare sådan... Ja, nogle gange sidder der...
Det er svært at være skæv og så se en god film, det virker.
Se en god film, det er altid penge.
Ja, eller se noget godt YouTube.
Ja. Og jeg ser også rigtig meget YouTube.
Ja. Det sundere for, at der er en TikTok i sidste ende.
Ja. Det meste på TikTok, det er sådan...
Brain rot.
Ja, brain rot, altså. Det er så hjernekogende, det der.
Jeg må lige vise dig noget, som jeg har fundet. Jeg skal lige vise dig hurtigt. Der er gode ting på TikTok, men det er ikke altid, man finder det. Du ved, det ved man også godt.
Ja, der er jo noget, der er sådan...
Der er noget, der er okay.
Der er sådan god videnagtigt.
Ja. Men der er sådan noget, der bare er lort.
Yeah.
Der er mere brain rot, end der er godt.
Ja, yeah, true.
I mindste kan du vælge fra på YouTube, ikke? Så.
Ja. Yeah. Må jeg tænde jointen?
Ja, det må du gerne. Værsgo. Der er slider her.
Okay.
Værsgo. Mit idol siger, at han er faldet af på den på YouTube.
Hvad?
Mit idol siger, at han er faldet af. KSI.
KSI?
Ja, han siger, at han er faldet af på den. I'm washed. Bro, I'm washed.
Shit, man. Der er samtidig det der, de siger Rainbow, I'm washed.
Ja. Jeg spiller også Rainbow KSI.
Ja, du ved godt. Jeg skal prøve 1v1 ham.
Ja.
Er det ikke?
Og så siger han, lad os record, lad os optage.
Så kom, ikke? Så kom.
Kom, JJ, lad os komme.
Ja,
Og så skal du kalde ham Fat Nick.
Ja, shit, man.
Bare kalder ham Fat, you Fat Nick. Så ved han godt, du er en fan. Ved du hvad? Det gør, jeg er på min rising-tid, ikke? På YouTube, ikke? Jeg er på min rising-tid. Så starter vi, ikke? Okay, så er jeg ved at fall off. Bare sådan, nå, vi kommer nok ikke til. Nå, godt, det gør mig. Jeg er ikke fall off endnu.
Plusket tager over.
Ja. JJ, sæt dig ned. Det er tid til pension.
Hvor gammel er KSI egentlig?
Han er over 30.
Over 30?
Ja.
Damn.
Han er sådan, men han er jo en flot fyr. Der er ikke noget der.
Ja, han sgu.
Ja, det var derfor, det var, hvad nu det hedder det.
Har du set alle de der, de sidder og hater på ham, fordi han har sådan en stor pande?
Ja, jeg elsker det. Jeg elsker det. Det ved du der. Men altså, nu har vi også hatet på. Det er sjovt, ikke?
Yeah.
Det synes jeg også stadigvæk, men nu siger han selv, at nu er det blevet ved i mange år.
Ja.
Så kan vi ikke finde på noget nyt. Det synes jeg også,
True.
Jeg kan ham også nogle gange, du ved, når folk beskriver, nå ja, den fede nørd. Det er fordi, de kalder ham Fat Nick. Fed nørd. Jamen det kan, men der er ikke nogen haters, der skal kalde ham en fed nørd.
Yeah.
Kun mig. Nå, lad os se om der er noget. Stjerne hun på bakken.
Den har jeg set, den har jeg faktisk set.
Jeg har også, du får lige en teaser på nu. Nej, jeg viser dig en teaser om lidt.
Okay.
Men lad os se den her.
Ja, lad os gøre
Den er også hyggelig. Den tager kun 5 minutter.
Hey, hvad så? I er på bakken igen. Endnu en gang. Han er en pind. Ja, så rykker.
Faktisk en rigtig god pind.
Ja.
That's a legend. That's a good. Vent, det er ikke en rigtig pind, det er en pind der. Hvad? Hvor er gang i? Du skulle have gået til en øl, Niels. Ja, det skulle jeg. Ja, så skulle jeg have gået til et dealer. Ja. Nej, der skal vi videre. Hej, vi har en speciel med. Hvordan er hund?
Hunden er med. Ikke hende. Vi låner hende. Vi låner hunden.
Jeg har din arm. Jeg stjæler hende. Hun er sgu så meget.
Og det er Asmus' kæreste. Aben. Aben, det siger vi hver gang i parken, når vi er på bakken. Tornadoen er på.
Det er den.
Og nogle søde drenge, de tog turen med. De hyggede os. Vi sagde så, bare roligt drenge, vi sagde til dem, ikke? Bare roligt drenge, det tager kun 20 sekunder. Så siger de, nej 35. Og så 35 sekunder, vi skal nok hygge os. Så lader vi hinanden kende at blive bedste venner.
Sindssygt.
Ja. Ej, der var en gang en lille dreng, jeg tror han var så gammel, måske 4 år, ikke? Han løb ind i Asmus, ikke? Og så troede vi, han skulle tage at græde, men det gjorde ikke, han rejste sig bare op igen og smile. Han bliver sej, når han bliver stor. Ja. Det er inde i de vilde mus. Jeg var bange for at tage telefonen.
Og det var sådan, at der var med på Oslo-turen.
Jo.
Men er der også en af dine rigtig gode venner?
Ja. Jeg kan lige vise dig mine rigtig gode venner, hvis det er. Så lige hurtigt, ikke?
Alright.
Jeg kan lige vise dig dem alle sammen, ikke? Så vi har jo bandet her.
Ja.
Oh my god, prøv igen. Ja. Der har vi bandet her, ikke?
Ja.
Okay. Ham her, og ham her, og ham her. Og ham her, ikke? De er 4 af mine nærmeste, ikke?
Okay.
De 4 af mine nærmeste. Og ham her, han har været tæt på, men ham snakker ikke så meget mere. Det er katten, det er lederen, eller ikke mere, nu er det mig, fordi hun er død. Og så resten bare, du er backup.
Ja. Okay.
Det er nemmeste måde at sige, men ja. Jeg var på Oslo 2 gange, så hvad det hedder.
Jeg har aldrig været i Sverige før.
Oslo er i Norge.
Ja. Norge jo sgu da Norge.
Ja. Har du ikke været i Sverige heller?
Ingen idé.
Du kan tage tog til Sverige. Det tager en halv time. Jeg er fra København til Sverige, og det tager en halv time, og så er der et stort center lige foran den første station, du lander i Sverige, ikke? Der er et stort center, der hedder Emporia, ikke? Og det er lækkert nok, og du kan være der lige så lang tid, og du kan godt købe en billet hjem samme dag. Du kan også tage rejsekortet hjem fra Sverige.
Jeg vidste slet ikke, der gik tog til Sverige. Jeg troede kun, det var sådan en færge, man kom over med.
Nå. Du tager til København først, hovedbanen, ikke? Så finder du, så leder du selvfølgelig, du kan altid spørge nogen, hvordan man gør, ikke? Og så køber du, og så skal du kan købe en billet eller tage rejsekort, det bestemmer du selv.
Ja.
Det er faktisk ikke dyrt, 179 for den ene vej.
Ja, shit.
Det er jo ikke dyrt.
Nej.
For ligesom et andet land.
Skal der bare på snus indkøb.
Ja. Altså, jeg køber altid tøj, for eksempel, ind i et sted, der hedder Blue Tomato, de har meget cool tøj. Synes jeg ikke, du ved, det er sådan noget skate- og rygertøj og så videre.
Okay.
Og så har jeg en lille kæreste, der arbejder i kassen. En lille sangfugl, hun kunne godt huske mig.
For at grine.
Ja. Så, lad os se noget. Men vi kan godt lige se noget fra Oslo. Det var en god tur.
Okay.
Men så synes jeg, vi skal se den første. Og så den anden nummer 2.
Ja, så lad os gøre det.
Ja, fordi jeg var der i 24 og i 25. Så det er vigtigt. Og så kan du få noget høre noget behind the scene, hvad der skete.
Ja, lad os gøre det.
Ja. Den første.
Okay.
Jeg betalte. Anden tur gav han. Fordi han har også fået nogle billetter. Selvfølgelig skal man starte den.
Selvfølgelig.
Så er det fandme mod Oslo.
Ja, vi skal til Oslo i dag. Og hvem skal med? Min kameramand.
Og så kommer Asmus, og så kommer rumvæsen.
Ja, det bliver så fedt.
Jeg går ud af folkeskolen. Ja, hun går på STU nu mere. Ham der var kameramand, ikke? Han kalder kameramand. Han startede næsten slåskamp med folk. Ja, han var inde på der var inde på baren. Og hvad? Et spil pool. Det er rumvæsen. Ham der den tykke der, det er rumvæsen.
Ja. Og sådan den, det er Asmus, eller hvad?
Ja. Og så er ham på den næste, det er Patrick. Og så er der den anden mørke, han er fra Vilde.
Ja.
Det er dem, jeg er tættest på nu. Jeg har også haft flere venner gennem årene, men det er som jeg sagde til dig, det er folk fra. Og det var meget normalt.
Præcis.
Jeg tror heller ikke, jeg kan holde styr på alle de mennesker nu. 30 mennesker. Jeg har 30 medlemmer. Jeg har 30 medlemmer i teamet. Jeg kan ikke holde styr på dem nu. Jeg vil ikke holde styr på dem nu. Kaos.
Det er en lille lortgøb, men den er fjern.
Jeg synes faktisk, det er okay. Altså, jeg tror også, vi har ikke brugt så meget. Nej. Jeg tror, at vi gør det.
Mig nu.
Vi er på både, og vi er live. Jeg kan se rummet til dig. Asmus, kig på kamera.
Jeg nyder bare med det hjemme.
Ja. Asmus er født på Asmus er fra Amager. Det er derfor. Han er født i Herlev.
Herlev?
Ja, i Asmus. Men rumvæsen bor i Herlev nu.
Seriøst?
Ja, men Asmus bor så i Rudstødby nu.
Alle fra min fars side, de bor i Herlev. Der boede min farmor, der min far boede. Jeg har været der rigtig tit.
Er det min? Nej. Jeg tror, det er min. Ja, det er min. Den er tom. Han vil. Vi hygger bare. Yeah. Det skal man også. Jeg savner den slags YouTube, hvor man bare hygger.
Yeah.
Nu er det bare sådan, nu skal jeg være professionel.
Yeah.
Jeg er ligeglad med TikTok-stjerner, jeg var bare sammen med mine venner.
Det er besvær, vi havde for at købe os. Vi savner Patrick.
Ja.
Vi savner Patrick. Og nu skylder mig snakke.
Hanna, vi har sgu da glas.
Og nu skal...
Der hænger flere glas ude på badeværelset.
Jamen det skal vi bruge til børste tænder. Jeg har ikke lyst til at have rumvæsen, at have samme hane fra rumvæsen. Har jeg vist min sejt på? Det købte jeg på turen.
Nå, på Oslo-turen?
Den der tur.
Okay.
Ja. Men vi ser den lige til tøserne, så bliver det sådan der, ej hvor nuttet, hvad det er, det er på. Jamen se her.
Jeg har også...
folk på stilet.
Ja. Det er for Naruto. Hvad?
Hvad?
Jeg sagde hvad?
Jeg sagde
Nå.
Det så jeg faktisk en gang.
Og så Pepsi og 7-Ups.
Ja, der er 7-Up en gang.
Når den er færdig, så slutter vi streamen, og så slapper vi lidt af, og så kan vi måske gå en tur og lave.
Jeg skal også lige finde ud af noget, fordi jeg har nemlig også en aftale her snart med de drenge, jeg skal øve med, så vi får bare lige ud af noget efter streamen.
Ja.
Og når jeg skal lige tage bussen og sådan.
Okay.
Ja, det er derfor, jeg har min skoletask med.
Ja, det bliver nemmere, når vi bliver naboer. Så er det bare lige sådan.
Det glæder mig til, det bliver fucking fedt.
Ja, ja.
Bare husk at skåle med børnene også. Ja, skål alle sammen. Skål alle sammen. Skål. Og velkommen til Oslo Cruiset. Ja.
Det var egentlig godt, at vodka han puttede den Red Bull. vi fik bare sådan en lille chat, ikke? Han fik meget mere. Han kunne smage vodkaen. Det er sådan hyggeligt. Det er også fordi, det er noget nyt. Det er ikke det samme, men det kan jeg godt lide. Jeg tror også, jeg skal filme så mange rejser, som jeg overhovedet kan. Ligesom når jeg er på bakken og så videre. Gå mere ud.
Tage på tur eller sådan noget.
Ja, præcis.
Hvad er du fået, Anders?
Jeg har taget noget barbecue, ribs.
Men det ligger meget.
Svinebriscuits.
Men jeg synes, smoke talk, det er en rigtig god idé, du faktisk at komme op med der.
Ja.
Det er faktisk... Ja, det er faktisk en crazy god idé.
Ja.
Jeg har da indbagt laks. Jeg har
Det synes jeg også.
oksemørbrad. Jeg har noget... Eller hvad det fanden er, jeg kan ikke huske, hvad det er. Jeg har noget kalkun, og jeg har italienske kødboller.
Kylling. Og en kartoffel.
Fordi han er en kylling.
Nå, det
Så skulle du have købt 2 af dem.
Nu har vi lavet energidrikketest. Ja, vi har smagt Malta af. Ja, det er fra Malta, så der er de video i hus. Og vi skal ud og finde Bird i morgen.
Og jeg skal
Philip bliver stolt.
Jeg skal Det er en sodavand fra 90'erne, som der var i Danmark.
Ja.
Ham der, du ser der. Ham der. Ja. Ham og hans venner kom kameramand op og skænd og næsten op og slås med. Lige efter det der. Ikke præcis lige efter det der, men samtidig, da vi stod med optag. Ja. Det var sådan lidt, hvad det hedder. Jeg ved ikke, hvem der startede, men jeg sluttede det. Jeg slogs ikke med nogen. Jeg prøvede at blive venner med dem alle sammen. Fordi jeg synes ikke, fordi vi var ikke blevet mig. Jeg skulle så rumvæsenet ville ikke slås, du ved. Vi var ikke bange, men de fuckede ikke med os. Det var ikke noget der. Vi spillede ikke pool. Og der var bare brugt at skrive pool om dame. Og dame ville alligevel have mig. Så jeg synes, det var åndssvagt. Og du ved, det var sikkert nogle fine fyre, hvis vi kunne snakke, hvis det ikke skete det der. Jeg synes, det var åndssvagt, at han skulle starte skænderi over ingenting. Han er lige der, ham der. Og ham der han laver musik, ham der med hatten laver musik. Han ser man senere.
Vi ses i morgen.
Men du kan godt røge det her. Det er godt røg.
Ja.
Jeg synes, det er så smukt.
Hvor var I henne?
Det er på båd. Det er i Norge. Det er Norge.
Ja, Norge, det er rigtig flot.
Ja.
Min ven Mads, han er sådan Norge, hans mor. Han er norskmand eller sådan noget.
Nordmand?
Nordmand, det er det, der hedder. Så det er rigtig tit i Norge, han viser mig billeder af alt muligt. Det er fucking flot dernede.
Ja, det der, vi er i Norge, det er ikke, men vi er bare ikke nødt til havnen endnu. Vi er havnen endnu. Så jeg synes, det er sådan et smukt land.
Ja.
Der har vi Oslo. Og derovre har vi Oslos Operahus.
Ja.
Se, vi er der næsten.
Ja. Tegner en dansker.
Ja, altså arkitekten var dansk.
Nå, der er vi i Oslo. glad, Asmus.
Okay, må se, hvad der sker.
Ja, vi er lige kommet. Og så er det allerede, er det allerede okay. Det er en god standard for Asmus. Hvis noget er okay først. Ja. Hvis noget er skrald for Asmus, så er det bare skrald. Ja. Så, vores kameramand, han har tilbage på båden.
Nå, han har jo bare været der til et kvarter.
Så skal det nyde boblebadet.
Ja, for helvede, mand. Min diabetes driller for meget, så jeg tager tilbage til båden. Så må de her
Det er slet ikke, fordi han har abstinenser, fordi han mangler hash.
Ja.
Ui, jeg røg heller ikke den dag. Jeg kunne ikke ryge i Norge. Jeg var sgu ligeglad. Jeg var sammen med mine venner. Vi var ude at rejse. Det var bedre. Det er kun, når jeg keder mig.
Yes. Nå. Klar du, Arsten?
Ja. Vi savner alle sammen.
Vi ses på båden.
Jeg tror, ja, det var fake, det der. Han spiller ikke rigtigt.
Nå. Hvor er hele rumvæsenet?
Centerstation.
Ja, og lufthavn.
Nej.
Hvilken lufthavn?
Det er tog til lufthavn.
Tog til lufthavn.
Tog til lufthavn.
Nå. Fint, jeg lader ikke hænge den der. Jeg lader ikke hænge, fordi jeg lå ham hænge sidste gang.
Så, rummet. Mr. Fox. Huske, hvad er det, du på?
Subway.
Asmus, så får du.
Det har man jo ikke så meget i Danmark her. Så det er meget lækkert at få.
Slagelse har vi... Nå nej, det har vi ikke engang.
Nej.
Jeg har en...
Men vi får Pizza Hut. Ej, vi kommer til at bo på Pizza Hut. Og så, fuck det der. Jeg var alene hjemme tit, ikke? Så der var sådan der. Nå, jeg kunne ikke. Så hvis du er nede, hvis jeg ikke er hjemme, så er jeg der på Pizza Hut.
Han har lavet det kongelige overhus, eller huset i København.
Jeg overvejer lige at få arbejde på nu.
Damn.
Ja, det kunne blive fuck, det kunne være fucking fedt jo, fordi jeg bor lige over for.
Ja, lidt.
Nemlig. Vi er på toppen.
Tid til rundbols.
Ja.
Hvad laver du, Asmus? Ja, nej. Kom her. Hvad kommer du? Jeg vil gerne se, altså, du gør.
Titanic.
Ej, jeg skulle lige komme med målklat på dig, Asmus. Det havde været guld værd.
Vi gjorde det også i toren.
Vi er på vej til Danmark. Hey, what up? I'm at this guy at the boat. You make music too?
Yeah, we make music.
What's your name? What's your name and
My name
Instagram?
is Gandhi. My Instagram is Gandhi from Aisa.
Yeah.
We made on the boat. It was very amazing days. We had good company together. We shared a lot of things about the music.
Yeah.
Be wait. We are coming with the fire music, a new album with him, new EP, and a lot of tracks. See you soon, guys.
Vi siger tak for i dag. Tak for den weekend. Ja, weekend. Lige præcis. Nej, det var fedt i år.
Så ser vi nummer 2.
Hvad så alle sammen til den her video? Jeg har Esmond med mig. Så. Og shit. Ja, jeg skal have været det. Hvor skal vi hen, Asmus?
Om 600.
Hvad så alle sammen til den her video? I dag så skal Team Pjuske til Oslo igen. Og Team Pjuske i Oslo 2025. Det bliver en fucking hyggelig tur. Det bliver Asmod og Patty. Så jeg skal mod stationen. Og så skal jeg lige tage min rejsekort op, og så bliver det der på Asmus. Så det bliver fucking hyggeligt. Asmod, kan I tage ud? Nå, vi er de eneste i toget. Vi venter på Patsy kommer.
Der går om lidt.
Ja, håber vi.
Bare ikke toget.
Bare ikke i toget. Måske på Østerbro.
Forhåbentlig. Jeg sidder hjemme.
Ja, så er det på tur. Jeg er på båden! Patsy kom for sent. Han nåede ikke båden.
Det er fucking ærgerligt.
Ja, så det kan bare Asmus. Beklager, ikke? Ja, det er jo vagt tid.
Jeg er lige kommet på.
Asmus, du er her.
Ja, jeg nåede lige noget.
Du nåede det lige i sidste sekund. Ja. Nå, så jeg skal lige sikre hytten. Som Asmus siger, det er en ordentlig barbecue-hytte. Der er en sofa.
Det var til lige om blå.
Ja. Der er senge her.
Keep konst. Det er helt stort.
Ja, man, kvindelige. Oh my god. Så, det er så hyggeligt. Ja. Til Pjuske i Oslo 2025. Vi skulle lige have noget mad. Eller noget kaffe.
Nå, vi smutter fam. Det var det for den her stream. Det var også nu, det var en lille surprise. Så
vi ses